validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I didn't think I was gonna make it. Man, let me tell you something. So I was out there changing a light bulb today, and the light bulb fell apart. Then I went to go and mess with the thing to get the thing out, the inner piece, and that bit sparked up. Luckily for me, I have gloves on because I was sitting over here like, it's the moment. Fell off the step stool and everything, but no, I was good. I was good. I got everything changed out, cleaned up, and everything like that. It was all good today. But I had I had me an interesting moment today. Um, so welcome to This and That, y'all. I'm your host Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Um, and like I said earlier, we're live. We're live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe and go ahead and use those notification buttons so that you can be reminded when the show does go live. We have a large majority of the shows going through June up there. So I encourage you guys to take a look at them and see what's going on. I'm going to be getting the rest of the Wednesdays up there because I'm still working on all the scripts that we need to get. I've gotten a lot of them done already. But I'm looking at the goal is to run through about 60 scripts over the next 4 days so that I have the next 2 months set up for you guys, which leads me to telling you guys that you should also go ahead and take a look at the membership because over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you will start seeing an overflow of information going into the membership, step by step walkthroughs and everything like that that helps you guys understand and learn some of the things that needs to be learned and understood and how to accomplish those goals. Because this isn't just a motivational seminar or something like that where you just come here and you get the spirit and you feel it and then you get out there and you go get it done. Nah, and you don't even know what to do. We come and tell you guys uh oh, I'm gonna get on that. It's just a second. Had it been anybody else, that would have set me off. But because you're genuinely inquiring on stuff on how to benefit yourself, I'm gonna give you the answer to that. But um, what was I saying? Yeah, when I give you guys the information that y'all need to be successful, it's all about making changes for the better. I don't just tell you guys that you can do better. I show you guys how to do better by giving you guys the roadmap. I don't just tell you that things are better on the other side of the chasm. I actually build a bridge for you to get there so that you know exactly where to go and what to do in order to make yourself successful. Now, Stephen, you asked me what were my thoughts on XRP. Now, I have covered this on my podcast quite a few times about XRP, specifically because ProLogic was coming onto the show swearing up and down in December that XRP was the next best thing. Sell all of your stocks, bonds, real estate, and buy gold and XRP and all this other stuff. And I had to do 2 or 3 full length shows to prove why that was bad information, right? So overall, XRP is a transaction platform. It is not effectively a stock. You can invest in it the same way you invest in everything else, but it is not something that is like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. It is the software that makes the digital transaction. So what happens is like it's almost like I'm trying to think. Okay, so let's say you have I can't remember what those things are called, but let's say for example you have a token that you're selling online. That token represents a physical asset. The physical asset does exist in reality. You're selling the ownership of that physical asset without having that asset with you during the sale and not handing the asset to the other person because you're selling them the ownership by transitioning this digital token to the possession of somebody else. Um, XRP is the transaction management platform that makes that transaction happen. So XRP is not going to be a booming stock situation because that's equivalent to investing in cash registers and then thinking because so many stores make sales that you're going to make a shit ton of money on cash registers. You're not. It's not the same as credit card machines. Because at least with credit card machines, they get a percentage of each transaction by using the platform. The cash register is like once the cash register is sold, that's it for the next 30 years, right? Now, because XRP is undervalued, it's underused because XRP has not been around very long. Bitcoin came out in 2009, and other forms of cryptocurrency and crypto trading has started to expand within the last 5 or 10 years, and XRP hasn't been out for much longer than a decade. So it is not a well-known investment opportunity. It's not a volatile scenario. Would I invest in XRP? Of course not. Specifically because whatever stock value that XRP holds is a growth stock. Me building a mindset of financial retirement, I prioritize dividend-based stocks. Now, I'm not biased against a growth stock. Like, for example, Netflix went up like $500 in less than a year. Fantastic thing to invest in, specifically because less people are wasting 200 something dollars a month for cable and more people are utilizing the Wi-Fi from their cellular network and watching Netflix on their cell phone for $25 a month for a family plan. So specifically with your Netflix membership, your YouTube membership, your Spotify or Shopify membership, um, and then Pandora, that's pretty much all you need. You got your music. You got your music when you don't have much network. You've got uh, TV shows and everything like that on YouTube. You've got a lot of stuff that is now starting to be live streamed off of Netflix, where Netflix went from just doing movies to doing movies, podcasts, live streams, comedy shows. Just about most of the stuff that people are willing to pay per view are now getting it through Netflix. WWE is now being seen on Netflix live every Monday night. Um, Football is live every night that there's football. The news is starting to be live on Netflix on a regular basis. So once you can log into Netflix and watch your local news, or at least watch like CNN and the NBC and all this other shit, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you don't need cable. So investing in stuff like Netflix, that's a good deal. Investing in things like TKO, who bought out WWE, yeah, they are increasing in stock. Yes, it is a dividend paying stock, but the quality of the brand has gone down as a result of the investment. So, can you invest in that company and make you some money? Yes, you could. But would it be a growing stock or would it be a declining stock? Looking at how the talent has also depreciated over the years, right? So, the sequel is never as good as the original, but it's just a principle of the fact that um, once you start seeing Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena, The Undertaker, like all of the greats are gone. CM Punk is still there because he's not good. you know, you've got Jimmy Uso doing spears that look like tackles, not actual spears. You know, it's I think he's just jumping 3 seconds too soon. He's supposed to run through his opponent, not run into him. Right? Big difference. Like, it's got to be like a full on like football tackle. Like, you got to hurt your shoulder, hurting his gut. That's kind of what it. But all of that leading back to your XRP question is first things first. My rule of thumb for any investment opportunity is to know what the hell it is that you're investing in. If you don't know what XRP is, don't invest in it. Plain and simple. If you don't know what the cryptocurrency that you're looking at is, don't invest in it. You can do as much research as you want on it. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. That's the safest bet, right? So you can invest in a bunch of different things. You can start with the portfolio that I gave you and then expand yourself into whatever you want to do. However, when you start branching off beyond 15 to 20 stocks, you start modifying your percentage yield without offsetting the majority of the volatility, which starts giving you the same results as the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is well over 500 businesses that on average gives you approximately 10% return year over year. Um, when your stock portfolio, as small as it may be, is giving you more than 10% average return year over year, 12%, 15%, 18% return year over year, you are doing better than the stock market. So the question is, do you do better than the stock market on growth, or do you do better than the stock market on dividends? Yes, you can by far over a long term buy some of the best underrated growth stocks, and they can turn you millions over the next 5 or 10 years. However, the problem that you have is if you need money, you're gonna have to sell the stock. That's strike one, right? If all goes well, the market's doing good, gains are happening, but you need money. It doesn't matter why. If you need money, you're gonna have to sell your stock. That's the biggest red flag that I have with building my long-term portfolio. I do not want my stocks to have to suffer for my immediate need for capital. Now, the next problem that I have with growth stocks, which is not going to deter me from getting some, it's just going to not have me prioritize them in my portfolio. They'll be on my portfolio, but they'll have less weight than the cash stock. When you have a stock that loses monetary value, that is a growth stock, that money is gone forever until the growth stock regains that loss. So whether it takes a couple days, whether it takes a couple years for it to bounce back, if you got a stock that tanks because Donald Trump is in office and that stock won't bounce back until 2 years after Trump is out of office, for that 5 years or 6 years, you have lost whatever money you invested in that stock. Period. Now, growth stocks, and this is why I push growth stocks over everything. When you're a low income worker, moderate income worker, blue collar worker, making less than 70,000 a year, growth stocks are not going to be your friend. You need dividend paying stocks to reproduce capital in addition to whatever you're investing in to aid you in expediting the growth of your portfolio. And you would think, oh, well, isn't that what the growth stock is doing? No, because when your dividends are coming on a regular basis, the companies you invested in are not slashing your dividends, but the share value has gone down on your stocks because of what's happening in the economy. If you continue to buy back into those stocks, you're going to increase your dividends. You're buying that stock for a cheaper price than what it would have been had the chaos in society had not happened. When the chaos subsides, and it always does, the stock will go back up. The longer the stock is down, the more shares you will own at a cheaper price. When the stock goes back up, and it will, you will now get a larger percentage of your portfolio producing that. For example, Ellington Residential, Orchid Island, Prospect Capital are all over 20% right now. Been over 20% for the last like 3 or 4 months. Okay. Now, if you continue to buy into those three stocks for the rest of the year, when they start increasing in value after Donald Trump brings the troops back home from Iran, then all of the shares you bought forever locked into that 20% return. All the rest of the stocks that you buy after that are going to be at a different percentage rate because you're going to be buying them at a higher share value. So if for 2 more years, those real estate investment trusts and BDCs stay at the $2.30 mark and $4.25 mark and $7 or $6.80 mark, and you're buying shares that are cheaper than penny stocks, then when the stock market does go back up, and it always does, Prospect Capital, Orchid Island, and Ellington Residential used to be upward of $30 a share. They're at like 10% right now of what they used to be 20 years ago. So if you're riding that wave right now, when it does start going back up, probably while Democrats are in office, you're going to start seeing growth on top of guaranteed dividends. And that's the difference. So I curated that list specifically for the person that's trying to build a lot of wealth in a short period of time, somebody who's investing on a budget where you can put your money there, get dividends back. You see those dividends every month, you add back in and you keep building up your portfolio. But I also gave you a portfolio platform that says, hey, put your principal into your BDCs and your REITs, take the dividends from your BDCs and your REITs, and regardless of what the market looks like, rebalance into the rest of your portfolio so that your whole portfolio explodes, right? You're going to reinvest that 20% into the rest of your portfolio, but all the money you put in goes onto those REITs. So if you're out of $1,000, you've got 55% of your portfolio over here looking nice, and then you put another $500 in on this 55%. The dividends from that 55% gets rebalanced into the 40%. That way, your whole portfolio maintains its balance, right? And that gets you the most with the least effort. And if you're getting, like I said, 20% back, you got three stocks that's got $1,000 in them and they're getting 20% back. You got three stocks that's giving you 600 bucks. And so whenever you put $1,000 down, you're going to get 600 already, and you're going to be able to take that 1,600 and like split it up through your portfolio, and that allows your portfolio to grow a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot longer, right? Because I have some Prospect Capital, Shell, and Chevron right now. I've just been upping those three starting out. That's good. That's good. Prospect Capital is at 20%. Ellington Residential is a monthly stock. They're also at 20%. Orchid Island is around $6 or $7 a share, and they're at about 20% right now. All three of those are real estate investment trusts that will give you monthly payments. Uh, Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil are quarterlies, I do believe, but they all three of them in the oil industry are good for you to divide up. And you can always have a plan. You can have Prospect Capital's dividends will go to Shell, Orchid Island's dividends will go to Chevron, Ellington Residential will go to ExxonMobil, and you can do it just like that and take $1,000 and put $300 into each one of your real estate investment trusts. Take the dividends from them, put it directly on those three oil thing, and that's six stocks. And you're just recycling your money, right? And that's a good way to go. But you're going to experience the growth from Shell, Chevron, and Exxon, and then you're going to experience the dividends. Well, Shell, Chevron, and Exxon does produce dividends, but they produce like 3%. But your real estate investment trust, oh yeah, they're going to be giving you like 20, 21%. So to answer your question, yeah, XRP not good to get into. Do you want to try trade bots? Probably could try Pionex. They do trade bots. Um, oh, shit, let me see. And you can do some research about those. Let me see if I can spell that for you correctly. Um, Pion, I think EX. Yes, Pionex, and you're in the United States. That's the one that you need for TradeBots. It's an app that you can use to put a little bit of money on, which you should use your dividends for. Put a little bit of money on, and then you can invest in that one, which would give you. Hmm, it wants me to download the app. Trying to see if I can log in because I had this one as well. I don't even remember which one I logged in with, but so I'm trying to get a URL for you. But you get in there. Oh, it's going to give me a PIN number. There it is. Give me a second. 173. Okay. Didn't let me put it in there. They tripping. Hold on a second. Uh, sign in. Ooh, that's what we're trying to accomplish. Verification code was sent to class. Please try again in a minute. No shit, no shit too fast. I'm sitting over here trying to push the button and then it wouldn't let me put the button in there. Um, there we go. It gave me a minute to type the situation in. There it is. Yes, confirm. So I'm gonna get you a URL for this because I know that you're interested in it. Get that out of the way. Yeah, I know it's been a long time since I logged in. Where is the settings? Dark mode. I like dark mode because it's black. um, uh, oh wait, hold on, I don't want to do that. They keep trying to make me download the thing. Get the, there it is. All right, boom. I'm gonna be a G, and I'm gonna stick it in the. Hold on, hold on. My QR code. I don't care about that. It's telling me my QR code ain't up to date. I'm gonna get this for y'all. Look, hold on, I gotta get in here now. Now I'm gonna step in through the podcast and then throw this into the comment section for you. This is the stuff I go through for my members. I'm like, put the whole show on hold. I'm gonna get him everything he needs to be successful real quick. Ooh, that is not us. Uh, oh, there it is. All right, so I'm gonna throw this into the comment section for you. As soon as it allows me to do it, it went to commercial. Um, there it is. Ah, okay. Now, either way, I'm going to get this information for you, Stephen. But Pionex is one of the things that you're going to use. It's trade bots, and what it does is that you put some money onto the account first. I was using this, and that's how I ended up with that cryptocurrency stuff because I was using trade bots in 2022, and then I dropped all the money into my Coinbase and I forgot about it. Now, but I didn't sell the crypto. I just kept it until this month where I actually got rid of it. Now it is. Come on, bro. Whole page needs to be. I think the YouTube need to be updated. We're gonna get this up here. But anyway, I'm gonna throw this into the comment section. That's what I'm trying to get done. Get it in the comment section for you. Uh, you set the trade bots. You select them the way you need them, the way you want them, and then after you select the trade bots, then I know I can get it in there. I can do it like this. There we go. There we go. All right. Now comment section. Got to be up here somewhere. There it is. All right. Peace. Haha. The chomp. There it is. So you should be able to see it now. I don't see it. It must have came in through. Mm, mm. I'll try. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. Because I tried to put it in there and then it ended up it went I thought it went into the comment section and then it did not show up on my screen. So I'm gonna do it again. And this time put it in on the other side. That's what she said. Uh, and paste it again. Boom. And this time it should show up on the screen, but it didn't. Yo, they're dirty. Either way, I put it into the thing. It's showing on StreamYard. I'm gonna type it in. All right. dedicated, dedicated to the cause. Um, it's probably because I got it set where I can't. I'm not shown certain stuff while certain stuff is going on. There it is. Uh, there we go. HTTPS. We gonna get tonight's show started eventually, y'all. Hold on. But he wanted to know about like stuff that's related to crypto, and I got the information, and I'm like in real time. I'm gonna give it to y'all. Today's show was supposed to be about the tough questions, and this is one of them. Um, and then SIGN. UP. Sign up question mark. I be hating these really long UFO URLs. Equal sign and then JTRNKZK. That's a capital K. And then a J. All right. Finally, there it is, Stephen. Pionex. Now, the way this works, you put a little bit of money up on it. You go in there, you grab you one of those trade bot sector. It's going to be like a grid thing. So like 800s, whatever grid thing. And it's going to get so many different percentages of a Bitcoin based on the quantity of money that you put down. You can put down like a few $100s. You can put down $50, whatever you want to trade, right? When I was testing this out in 2022, I used like $250 and I had doubled the money. And then I doubled the money in like a couple of weeks. And then I just pulled the money out. And I was like, I'm not going to keep fucking with this. I got excited. I was like, nah, I'm going to take some of this money. But what happens is you set it up, you put it in there, and you can either get a template, one from one of the people that are creating trade bot templates that give you higher performance than natural trading. You set it up, you put your money in it. After you put it on a platform, you put your money into the trade bots, and then the trade bots start trading for you. As they trade, you're going to have your buy-in, which is supposed to be lower than your sell value. You can have, from what I understand, up to 16 trade bots. And if you tier them where one bot will buy at a low level and then sell at a high level, and then you skim that money off the top, and then you have another bot that buys in at that level and then sells at a higher level, then you can ride the market as it goes up. However, on its way back down, which happens every year after October, it's going to be a little bit more of a complicated scenario because when you sell, you're going to have to make sure that the money is available to buy back in down here on the first bot because otherwise it's not going to be able to sell lower than its programming, which is going to kind of have your bot slow down. It will continue to trade as volatility meets the criteria, but and you will have a lower loss than what you would have had you not been paying attention and the bots wasn't operating. But it is something that can help you start trading using cryptocurrencies, Ethereum and stuff to that effect. Now, there are some YouTube gurus that are on here that know a lot about trade bots, and they will tell you which coins to trade. And then you can get the collection, the list that they give you, and put them together and put them into you can manually create your own trade bot and then set everything up and it'll do the transactions the way you set it up. But you would be investing into that cryptocurrency with the dividends from your brokerage account so that you're not losing money on Bitcoin because it is profits from your brokerage account. So your principal is still intact, right? Now, that's the reason why I just delayed the show for like 20 minutes because I wanted to make sure that you knew, like, that's one way to get it done. And you can draw profits off of that because Bitcoin can, if set up correctly, can produce 8,000%, which means that you can get 8 times back than what you put in. You put in 100 and catch it on a good month, especially since Bitcoin is at its lowest point for the year right now in May, and it is going to start going up as we get closer to June. If you started trade bots now, it's not going to get much lower. It's going to start climbing back up. And if you're doing the incline with your trade bots, you're buying and selling on the incline, and you can tier off multiple different trade bots and buy and sell on the incline and continue to do that through October. And you will see that if you put $200, you might have $400 by the end of the month, you know, uh, and you can keep doing that. You can pull out your $200 where your principal you took it back and you left the interest in there and you're just riding the trade box with just the interest, you can do that. Um, and that's what I ended up doing when I had pulled out, and that's one of the reasons why I still had $35 left over because I pulled out my initial principal and I had left the interest in there and I was trading with the interest. And then I had pulled some money out because I needed some money. Then I left whatever was in there. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I still got like 40 bucks in there from 2 years ago because I put it in there and forgot, right? But clearly I had gotten rid of all the trade bots and everything like that. So I wasn't trading the way I was trading back in 2022. But that goes to show you, yeah, there's more than one way to get this done. So I'm not exclusively married to one specific way, but I do want to encourage you guys to make sure that whatever other way that you guys try to go about doing it, that you know enough about what you're doing that you have the confidence to risk losing money doing it. And before you risk losing, do not risk losing bill money, risk losing profits from a successful trade and use the profits as the gamble because there's no official loss on your principal. You lose time on the investment that gains you money, but you don't lose your principal, right? That's my recommendation on that. Now, moving on to the show because I prioritize my members over everything else. Moving on to the show. Since we're live 7 nights a week, we have different topics every night of the week. Sunday tonight is questions and comments from the fans. So I answer Steven's questions. He came in with it. Uh, he said, I might give it a try in the future. I think right now Orchid Island is the next move for investment. I damn sure agree because when you said that you just had Prospect Capital, I'm like, shoot, right now I would be doing Prospect Capital is 5 cents a share, and Ellington Residential is 8 cents a share, and Orchid Island is 12 cents a share, and Ellington Residential is half the price of Orchid Island. So for 2 shares of Ellington, you would get $16, 16 cents back off of 2 shares for the same dollar amount that you would spend on 1 share of Orchid Island, giving you 12 cents a share. You would get 5 cents a share back off of Prospect Capital. And since Prospect Capital is about $2.40 a share, and Ellington Residential is about $4.55 a share, for $5, you're going to get about 8 or 9 cents a share back from Ellington, where you would only get back like 10 from Prospect Capital. They're close to one another. I just get all three. I put up $100. I get all three. I divide all three of them. And then what I do is whichever one takes the lowest dip, I buy into that one first so that I get the highest percentage yield. And then I can rebalance into the other two so that all three of them are the highest dividend payers. And then I take those dividends and then I put it into the other ones that are lower dividend payers, more growth stuff. But yeah, so I put that out there just because you asked me about XRP, and I'm like, man, he's really talking to me about cryptocurrency. Let me give him some hints on cryptocurrency, because I try to cover everything for you guys to make sure that y'all are successful. But after Sundays, we typically talk on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays about business and politics, where Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Tuesday, we talk about ways to save, invest, budget, um, and make money. But then we also talk about different ways to approach money and to identify or rationalize money. This Tuesday, we're going to be talking about this Tuesday and next Tuesday because it's going to be a two-part series. We're going to be talking about the identity theft stuff that Stephen was asking me about. That information is already in the membership from last week, but we're going to cover the topic two different ways. One, from the perspective of your identity being taken the organic way, and then two, artificial intelligence being utilized for cyber scamming. We're going to be talking about that next week, Tuesday. And the reason why we're talking about that on a Tuesday is because, one, you can find yourself giving away too much personal information while you're texting people on these dating platforms that are using these AI bots to steal your information. They want to know all the personal stuff about you, and they play against your emotions so that you can tell deepest, darkest secrets about you, which helps them break the codes of your personal identities. Uh, it helps them with hacking into some of your stuff. But at the same time, Even if they don't rob you, it helps them use your backstory to create the identity for their AI so that they can use that backstory with somebody else so that they can rob somebody else. So it's like a very big thing, and that's why it's a two-part process. And as a result, this would negatively impact your finances in a lot of ways. One, you could get robbed. They could steal your identity, max out all your credit cards and everything to that effect. Two, you can voluntarily send money to a chick that you think is a chick in another country that turns out to be a fat dude in the basement somewhere. Um, Three, you're spending a lot of money on dating platforms, talking to a computer that's utilizing information from you to compel you to maintain communication so that the person can get paid for you staying on the platform because you're paying for the membership for the dating platform. Um, so you're not even getting a real connection. They just continue to feed you bullshit to keep you communicating with them on the platform, right? Um, and then what is the other one? Oh, well, if they corrupt your identity, it's hard for you to prove that you are who you say you are. And then like all your shit gets frozen. So even if they don't rob you, I mean, once they impersonate you, they can use your image and then hijack control of your social media accounts and then attack your friends through your account and then rob your friends blind because your friends are going to trust the photo, the profile photo, and then the backstory information that you get from your friends. They believe that that's you because this you truly told them what it was about you, and then they use that to validate and verify, and then they rob the friends. So then when your friends come back and be like, "Oh, hey, you asked me for $50, bro. I didn't talk to you." Yeah, Facebook Messenger, blah blah blah. Dude, I haven't talked to you. You end up in those types of situations, right? Then your friends are mad at you because you got hacked, and they cash at you some money, and that wasn't really you that they cash after too, right? So that's why it's going to be a two-part process we're going to be talking about on this coming Tuesday. Now, Wednesday we should have Nicaragua because should have talked about Guatemala last week. And this week we're going to have Nicaragua. And over the next month, I should be putting up about 7 or 10 more Wednesdays so that we have a lot of countries lined up already, in addition to all the rest of the shows that we have. Uh, but on Wednesdays, we talk about different countries around the world that we can live in and potentially invest in, potentially find the ability to start up a good family, family oriented women, stuff to that effect. And I say that, ladies, because this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective. We as men spend 3/4 of our lives building ourselves up to be valuable to our societies so that we can find a partner that we can spend the remaining of our days with. Right. And that's that whether men admit it or not, that is the truth. Men do not go to work to make themselves highly financially successful for the sake of their own personal expectations. Most men, if it's all about doing for themselves, they would do just enough to make sure that their daily bills are paid and that's it. Beyond that, maybe a little bit of entertainment money, but that's it. Striving to do better, going to college, get better careers, six-figure jobs, big house, big car, expensive clothes, looking sharp. All of this stuff is done to be perceived socially as valuable to the hopefully valuable woman that we're going to spend the rest of our lives with. And that's where Passport Bros originally came from because guys started going around the world to find in Eastern culture women that still maintain the family oriented upbringing that doesn't exist in current 2026 Western culture. So one of the reasons why we talk about, because Michael said this yesterday, that he thinks that it's bad that I actually have to advocate and promote the fact that we can go somewhere else and live cheaper, we can go somewhere else and live better than where we currently are. But truth of the matter is that you have to have another way. If you don't like where you are and what you're doing, you can always move. You can move down the street, you can move to another city, you can move to another state. But in modern 2026, you can move to another country. So if you don't like what's going on, you can start making money online. You can start making money off of your computer. Move to a country where you still got good Wi-Fi and continue making that money. But since you're making that money in America and you're living in not America, depending on where you go, the cost of living there might be cheaper than the cost of living in America, where you would find yourself being more than capable of sustaining yourself in a cheaper environment. Now, finding a culture that uh, does have a traditionalized upbringing, family oriented community, you have the ability to find more of a dating pool of people that date to marry, not just the hookup culture, which makes it a lot easier because you have no problem with starting off being friends with somebody for three to 6 months because you know that you're friends to dating to marriage, not friend zone for life, right? As the way we are in Western culture. In Western culture, you're either friend zone for life or you're dating with the exploration of the potential to consider marriage. But in other countries, you only date to marry. So we're going to be friends. And if I like you, we'll start dating. If I don't like you, we're not going to start dating. We're probably not even going to be friends anymore. Right. But everybody's going to start off at the friend spot and potentially move into that relationship spot. But in Western culture, it doesn't go that way. So we have higher prospects in a different environment where people are raised the way we're looking for them, and that's why we talk about it like that. Now, after that, um, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have um, different topics related to social improvement, self development, relationship topics, socialization, networking, building your brand. We have coming up soon. We were talking about raises and promotions before. Now we're talking about retirement, forced retirement, and severance packages. So we're going to be covering those in the next week or two, which helps you guys understand that you can negotiate your way into a higher paying job where you can potentially make up to 15% more on your way in. But then we also talk about on your way out. Because if you're not showboating, acting ass, flipping tables, pooping on the boss's desk, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, everybody on your way out, you should be able to negotiate your exit. You can exhaust all benefits that you qualify for before termination occurs. You can expel because all they want is for you to leave. So if you can set it up where I'm going either way, but I can still benefit from utilizing X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, that makes a lot more sense, you know, because if you are fired on paper, that's when all your benefits stop. But if you're fired figuratively, where you're no longer on the schedule, you're no longer showing up for work, but you're still in payroll, you can still get all of your benefits that you were entitled to on your way out, which kind of delays uh, the fallout from your last day showing up to work versus your last day getting a paycheck versus your next day getting another job, right? So we're going to be talking about that coming soon. But then after all of that, we talked to you guys about how to build your 20-year and 30-year plan and why that's so important. Um, we do have to along the way work on our decision making skills so that you understand what you shouldn't do so that you don't negatively impact your money. But then we talk about what you should do to change the way your outcome could be if you start doing things differently, right? Um, and really focusing on your 20 or 30-year goal is to deliberately put yourself in a position where you're seeing and receiving more and more capital that can go towards savings so that you have more stuff to get stuff done with, right? I was talking to a buddy of mine. I actually just got an extra gas card, complimentary from my credit card company. They were like, "Oh yeah, we got gas card accounts." And I'm like, "What?" So with all the driving I'm about to start doing, I said, "Shee, I could just fill the tank, fill the tank, fill the tank." They give me 5% off on a card. I got my Walmart rewards card. I get 5% off over there. I'm getting 10% off on gas. That ain't a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. 10% off per gallon. You know, uh, that well, we're looking at almost like $4 a gallon. That's going to be like 40 cents off. Well, it might be closer to 4 cents off a gallon, but it's 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 something. It's something. Shit, for the $45 or $50 it takes to fill the tank. They might give me like $4 back. That's something. And right, it's adding up. It's adding up. I'm sitting here like in 1 week. Remember, I told y'all before that I could burn a whole tank of gas in 3 to 4 months because I wasn't doing that much driving. Last week, my dude, last I spent $300 in gas last week. I was doing a drive. I was driving. I'm talking about like we did 400 miles in one day, and then the next day I did 150 miles, and then the day after that I did 75 miles, and then I was like, man, fuck this. Everything else can wait. I'm gonna have to start ordering shit from Walmart. I'm gonna wait until my next day off. I'm gonna have to pace myself because I got a quarter tank of gas in this bitch right now. Like, uh, what am I gonna do with this? Because I ain't bought the gas tanks yet, and the reason why I ain't bought the gas tanks yet, because I'm gonna get them. They're like but if you catch them in the right spot, they're like $150 for a 20 gallon and like 200 something for a 30 gallon gas tank with the pump on it. But like, who the fuck am I to $5 a gallon and fill those things up? No, that's okay. I'll get it, but I'll get it and it'll benefit me when gas go back down. Right now, I'm kind of just like pillar to post kind of shit. But getting the gas card, then I can say, oh yeah, well I guess now it does kind of make sense because I have the gas card to get like $150 worth of gas, and 50 gallons of gas sitting at the house. I can drive the car, and then when the car gets low, I can pump gas at my house, and then drive where I gotta drive. Right, kind of prolong the inflation. Right, is that $170 a week is a light week for gas for me. Shee. Nah, I'm not trying to do that no more. It's really starting to to suck. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not trying to do that. I had it last month. I had the operation set up where I only drove when I needed to. But I know I got a long ass drive that I got to do in July, and now that's July. Between now and then, I ain't trying to do too much. I'm trying to peace be still, you know what I'm saying? But these are the things that I tell y'all. I tell y'all like these are the different ways that y'all can make money for you so that y'all can benefit from your investments so that y'all can hedge all of these expenses. Because if you buy Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil and you keep putting your money in there, you're going to experience the growth. You're going to still get the dividends, and you're going to put like really what you should do is for every $10, because if you look at the portfolio that I gave you, if you're going to get all of the stocks that I told you about, if for every $10 you divide it up the way I told you to divide it up, because I gave it to you in macro level numbers, like, oh well, if you divided up 100 grand, you would do it like this, this, and this, and this. But if you shave off a few zeros and you divide up $100 between 17 shares, you're still doing the same. It's still the same numbers. It's just smaller. It's less zeros. And I would just get all 17 of them and just put put more onto the REITs and then rebalance them into the other ones and just keep putting them up there. Like I think I just grabbed an extra $50 off of some of the stuff that I had put down because I had a small amount that's invested right now, but I'm starting to increase those amounts as time goes on because I'm like, nah, I'm about to invest heavy. I'm actually making a plan because remember I covered the show a couple times before that you can leverage loans for profit. I talked to you guys about this once before. Looking at the fact that I'm able to pull back about 12 to 15% interest if I'm using the BDCs and the REITs, I'm looking at 20% interest, right? Just on that. But thinking about it, I get a loan for say 50 grand. The loan wants say 8 or 9%, right? Let's say 10%. Okay, let's say 10%, right? Um, you put the 50 grand into the brokerage account. The brokerage account is putting out 20%. I could take 8% out of the brokerage account, pay the loan, keep the difference and reinvest it into the portfolio. The loan's getting paid, my portfolio's getting paid. I got an extra 50 grand in the principal, and I don't got to do nothing. It's not coming out of my pocket. I just had to qualify for the money, take it, put it up, and then live off of it, right? So I said, yeah, I'm gonna start dumping. I'm gonna start dumping heavy. Um, and I actually covered a show on this quite a few times about either leveraging your cash as an investment when you're doing things like investing in civil action, where you're signing a contract with the parties involved, one of the parties involved, so that you can cover the legal fees of the case, and that will qualify you based on the agreement of the contract, a percentage back plus your principal, which allows for once the case gets settled for you to get paid off of that case. People do this all the time with car insurance crashes. They offer like $5,000 up front for $6,000 or $7,000 back each time. And like if you give up $15,000, you come back with like 18 or $20,000 because each time they need 5 grand to hold them over for 6 months. They'll give you back 6,000, 6,500 for each time, which sets you up because your money is only going to be held up for the usually the 6 months to 18 months, but usually it's 6 months because usually sometime after 7 or 8 months, the person getting the settlement is desperate enough to negotiate a closing. It doesn't always go to litigation, depending on what city and state you're in. When it's a no fault state, they typically just after usually about 6 to 9 months, the doctor's like, yep, no more recovery is possible here, and that's when they start negotiating a close. So um, in those dynamics, you can put your money up and you can get money back. And that's one of the reasons why it's like shit. If we start making extra money, we can float extra money. And if we can float extra money, we can invest in things that'll give us money back this year. So, I tell you guys, always hedge your expenses because yeah, we're gonna have to pay this gas whether we like it or not. We might as well profit off of something somewhere by investing in things that's gonna pay us back so that we're making more money back than what we spent out eventually, right? Over time. Um, Now today, shit, we already covered an hour, so we don't got that much to do. I have some comments that I gotta pull them up. I forgot to pull them up. I was so excited about Stephen asking me about. I had to get in there and make it happen. Where did it go? Where did it go? It was supposed to put me up on stuff. There it is. All right. So
My husband wants me to tell.
hold on. We got some comments, and these comments are wild. I'm gonna cover these, and then I'm gonna let you guys know what I think about them, and you guys feel free to chime in on them. The first one is a little bit outrageous. I wasn't expecting it, but yeah. Let's do what we do, our normal Sunday routine.
My husband wants me to tell him when I start my period. Does this seem right? My husband and I are in our 40s and married for over 5 years. We have our share of problems, but the request for me to announce in some form or fashion that my period has started has been a point of contention. I suggested that he keep an app on his phone and this was sidestepped. I sometimes forget to say and he gets upset. Should I have to announce that my period has began? My husband wants me to tell him when I start my period. Does this seem right? My husband and I
Oh
are
God,
in our 40s and married for over
tighten up
forget to
later.
say and he gets upset. Should I have to announce that my period has began?
Okay, so for some reason y'all got this thing going on where he's supposed to know. When I thought about this one, um, I know some women are like, "Oh, that's gross. You shouldn't have to ask these kind of things. These weird, blah 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 blah." If it's his responsibility to make sure that the equipment that you need for that is in the house, he needs to know when it's going to happen. Typically, a good man is expected to make sure that when your situation occurs, that he has the proper resources like spare clothes, something to help you cover up, um, just in case it gets on your clothes, stuff to that effect. It also helps the relationship because some women are emotionally extreme during that time of the month. So if your behavior becomes erratic right around that time, then letting him know that this is that part of the month where I start getting emotional, overly emotional. That does help with patience and understanding. The other portion of this is because she's not saying everything. Um, she's talking about how there's an app there. She told him to put an app on his phone. So if there's a health concern that she's got going on and he's monitoring her cycles specifically because he wants to make sure that she's healthy, then yeah, you're supposed to tell him what's going on, right? Women are kind of on both sides of the fence. It's a uh, very weird level of misandry where women just hate men being too involved, but they're pissed off at the men when they're not involved enough, right? But there isn't an appropriate line in a saying. It's just it's subjective to the person and the mood of the person. So the same person could have high expectations for involvement and have high expectations for it's none of your damn business. And that confuses the hell out of men. So you guys have been together for a while. You guys have been married for a while. You guys have a routine where he knows what's going on. Uh if you've gotta, talk about Aunt Flo or whatever to whatever, like, hey, throw it out there and make it known so that the man's not damn confused. Um, some people are gonna say that's inappropriate. I disagree. Um, if you were a parent, you got a child, you want to know when your child's got stuff going on. Sometimes, as men, we have to ask the tough questions because you know what the doctor's gonna do? Doctor's gonna ask dad. If dad don't got the answer, that's a problem. You know what the doctor's gonna do when you're married? The doctor's gonna ask the husband. And does the husband doesn't have the answer, you got a problem. Uh, they put up inappropriate barriers to prevent you from doing what you could do to benefit them. Um, under this false sense of privacy, when it is the man's responsibility to protect you and provide for you. So your responsibility to make sure that he has all the tools and resources that he needs to protect and provide for you requires you to provide him with the same level of full disclosure and full transparency that you expect out of him when you're trying to find out if he's cheating. So if he's trying to find out if you're healthy, um, you should be able to go ahead and let him know what's going on. Because clearly at the age of 40, he's not following your cycle talking about some trying to have kids because that ship has sailed. But you know, if y'all got a routine going on, you should full disclose. Now, if this would have been something that like happened at the beginning of the relationship and dude's just like, hey, what happens if nah, that's a little bit too inappropriate, right? There are scenarios where that's none of your damn business. But let's be real. In order for you to do what you're supposed to do, if it's my responsibility to make sure that your feminine products are here, I have to know when your feminine products are needed because the one thing that women don't do is keep a stock of their feminine products. A man might have two or three bottles of cologne, and when he's down to the last bottle, he'll go buy two or three more. A man might have a pack of razors, and when he's got the last razor in the house, he'll go buy a new pack. A woman will have a pack of razors in the house, and when the last razor goes into the trash, there's no more razors, and she won't go buy another pack of razors till she needs to shave again. A woman might be down to her last pack of feminine products and she won't buy any more. She will use what she has and then ask the other women in the area if she can borrow theirs instead of stocking up. Then you have the women that will ask a man to go to the store and get the feminine products because she's out. Well, bitch, you've been to the store 4 times since the last time you used your collection. You knew that you didn't have it. What you sending me to the store for? So if I got to go to the store, and the only way that I could play this off because a lot of men are uncomfortable going to the store to grab these things, is grab a bunch of groceries, grab a bunch of feminine stuff, and cart it all back to the house. And I probably do it while my wife is here so that people aren't looking at me strange. Get it now so that it's in there, right? That way I'm not going to the store just for that. Because when you're going to the store just for the feminine products, it's just like going to the store just for a pack of condoms. Everybody looks at you funny, right? Even though it's natural, it's normal, it's healthy, it's what you're supposed to do, because everybody looks at you funny, right? So, tell him so that he can plan and prepare. That's what I would say about it. Now, let's go ahead and move on to some of the other ones.
Friend took a photo of Art and my wife. Last summer, my good college friend Dan, who's 44, and his wife, Shelly, who's 45, stayed at our home while my wife, Jenna, who's 42, and I am 44 were out of town. They had flight trouble and had trouble finding a hotel, and Dan texted me late to see if they could stay at our place. I said sure and gave him the codes for the lock, etc. Dan and Shelly left the following afternoon. Everything was fine. I hadn't thought much about it since. I received a call yesterday from Shelly saying she had to tell me something. She had found a photo on Dan's phone of the art hanging in our primary bathroom, which is a 3-panel set of nude sketches of Jenna that an artist did a couple years ago. Shelly was shocked to find the photos, although she acknowledged that they had both seen the sketches during their visit, which wasn't a big deal. If we had known they were coming, we would have likely covered them. Shelly said she hasn't addressed it with Dan yet, but will. She wanted to check with me first and follow my lead as to whether I will tell Jenna and if I'd like to talk to Dan about it after she talks to him. I said I'd get back to her. I'm not surprised they saw the sketches. That's not unexpected. But Dan taking the photo and getting busted is a shock here. I assume I should let my wife know and talk to Dan, but I'd love opinions.
Okay, so here's the thing. You got photos of your wife hanging on the wall in your house. You got people coming over to your house. They're going to see the photos. It's in plain view. It is not a problem. If it would have been a Mona Lisa, if it would have been a Monet, if it would have been anything else, nobody would have a problem. His wife being fucking petty, insecure about her husband because she ain't doing what she's supposed to be doing for her husband, is concerned about how her husband has found these sketches to be interesting, and she wants you to help her discipline her husband. I would not help her with that. Logically speaking, if I was going out of town and I am going to make my house available to my friends because I am going out of town, whatever the fuck they found before I put it away is fair game. If I was going out of town and I did not want people at my house, or if I was going out of town and I know that I'm the kind of friend that would help out a friend, I would put it away before I left town. Okay. So since this was somewhat of an emergency, I didn't know they were coming. I left. I could not prepare for them. They have full access to the house. I could have said, don't go into X, Y, and Z bathroom and set up that boundary, knowing that there are certain photos in there that I don't want them to see. I could have had my wife tell his wife, hey, there are photos of my wife in the bathroom, take them off the wall and put them in the closet or something, so that, it doesn't get seen by Dan. Then, it is what it is. However, nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. Dan was in there and he's like, oh, look at this art. Photo, photo, photo. Now, the way Shelly is painting it out to be is that dude is being inappropriate because he's taking pictures of the other guy's wife's sketches. It's not inappropriate. If she would have been just as naked in a museum, plenty of people would be taking photos of it. There's no difference. It was posted on the wall for observation by anybody who had access to the house, who had access to that bathroom. As a result, there should be no shame there. Now, should I go and tell my wife that my homeboy got photos of my wife from the pictures we hung up in the house of my wife being naked? No. Some people are gonna say, "Oh yeah, you should probably tell her. What if she's uncomfortable about it?" Wait. First question is because this is the part, first person accountability, that Shelly's not even talking about. I allowed my wife to pose naked in front of potentially another man who sketched my wife. So one man has already seen my wife naked. Now another man has seen a picture of my wife naked from the first man that seen my wife naked. Should I give more of a shit about the second guy seeing my wife naked or the first guy seeing my wife naked? I kind of feel like the damage was already done when I allowed my wife to have naked photos of herself sketched by another man and then hung up in the house like fucking trophies. So once she posed naked in front of another man, for these photos to now be hung up in our house, I should not have to tell her that the people that are staying in the house right now saw her naked portrait in the damn house because we all live there. We know there are naked photos of her on the wall, right? So I would have told Shelly, don't worry about it. I would not have even told her I would get back to her. Nope, don't worry about it. I am not even going to tell my wife. I don't care. If you tell her, you can tell her. And if she comes and asks me, why didn't I tell her? I'm going to tell her the same thing I would have told Shelly. If my wife didn't want Dan to see her naked, then my wife should not have posed naked for the man that sketched her and then hung it up on the fucking wall. That's what I would for everyone in the house to see, right? So it's not like it's not an invasion of privacy. It would have been an invasion of privacy if Dan would have broke in. It would have been an invasion of privacy if we had certain doors in the house locked and Dan broke the lock to get into that room and then seen stuff that was off limits because certain doors were locked. The whole house was open up. I gave him all the passwords. He was able to come in, do his thing. He saw something that I wasn't expecting him to see. Oops, my bad. Not even my bad. It's my wife's bad because she's the one that posed naked for another man and then took the photo and hung it up in the house. I'm not about the middleman that shit, you know. So to all the ladies that come through the show, at no point in time should you chastise your man because he's got eyes and a camera phone. If it is projected in common view, let the man do what he's gonna do. Take a photo of it, save it for later, use it as ammunition for whatever, whatever. But you know, uh, shaming the man for being a man when the woman started it, that's not okay. That's just like um women who take provocative photos and put them up on social media. He already knows that 4 billion people will look at that photo of her. No comment that can be said, no heart, no smiley face, no kissy face, no cucumber, pear, water drop, water drop, water drop can excuse the fact that she knew this was going to happen. Okay. Now, if the photo comes across my cell phone, my wife, my girlfriend should have jack shit to say about it because I did not go directly to a site that is supposed to produce this type of content. I went to a YouTube, I went to a TikTok, I went to a Twitch, I went to a Snapchat, I went to an Instagram, I went to a Facebook platform where random shit that I can't control what pops up pops up. I saw that and I was like, ooh, smiley face. Bitches love smiley faces, right? Now, for a wife or a girlfriend to get mad at that, she's doing too much and projecting her insecurity onto her man. If he likes what he sees and you can reasonably replicate that, put effort into being that in his presence so he can look like that at you. He's got on a provocative outfit. He likes that kind of stuff. You go to the Todd, you go get you some provocative outfits and you wear that shit for him. Right? But just shaming him for looking, don't know no man ever shames his girlfriend or his wife for looking at a buff dude at a gym working out. We could give two shits. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Like I let it ride. Let's check on the next one.
My girlfriend's prank about another guy today has me thinking of breaking up. So I'm 21, and my girlfriend, she's 21, have been going through a rough patch recently. Things weren't good for like a week or two. We had a fight before where I felt like she made it seem like everything was my fault, and honestly that hurt me. Because of that, I kinda pulled back a bit and didn't give as much attention as before. Then one day she suddenly disabled her FB and Messenger, cleared our nicknames, unfollowed me on IG, and later sent a long message basically saying goodbye, thanking me, and telling me to take care. It felt like a breakup out of nowhere. We did end up getting back together, but things haven't felt the same since. When we talked about it in person, she insisted that I was the one who started it, like unfollowing first. But that's not true. I only did those things after she already did. I tried explaining, but she didn't really listen and kept pushing her version. Fast forward to today, she joked that some guy was chatting her, telling her to leave me because I don't give her enough attention. When she said that, I actually believed it for a moment and it hurt. Then she sent a picture of us to that guy, which made me feel a bit better. But then she said it was all just a prank. Now I'm just confused. It didn't feel like a joke to me, especially since it literally just happened today. It felt like she was playing with my feelings, especially after everything that already happened. Part of me still cares about her, but another part of me feels like this relationship is getting unhealthy and stressful. Would appreciate honest opinions.
Um, yeah, that relationship is done, bro. I was waiting on Michael to be like, leave her. No, that relationship is done. Um, so what just happened was she tested you by telling you the truth and then put the ha ha just kidding on the back of it. When she got into a fight with you, she was talking to other dudes, thinking that she could do better. Then one of the other dudes convinced her that if she left you, that she would be better off with him. She broke it off with you, blocked you on social media, made it your fault. Then, when the other dude didn't come through the way she expected, then she came back. But she had to come back in a self preservation fashion to make it seem like it was your fault so that you can apologize for her abandoning the relationship instead of working on a relationship so that you will put extra effort into making it up to her because she abandoned a relationship. This is narcissistic behavior. Men do it too, but a woman's doing it right now. Um, then she had the audacity to admit that she was compelled by somebody else. She didn't tell you in the sequence in which it happened because she, oh, I got a man and look, this is his photo, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can do better than that. You don't need that dude. Break up with him, blah, blah. Then she broke up with you. Then when she found out that the dude was full of shit, then she got back with you. So she told you the truth. But once she saw that it frustrated and upset you, and likely you were going to break up with her again, and she doesn't have an alternative this time, no, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Look, bottom line, ladies, gentlemen, I have seen these breakup jokes worse than this on social media. And while people claim that this is just in the midst of funny, you're supposed to be more secure about your relationship and take a joke. There are certain things that you don't play with. You don't play with matters of the heart. You don't play with people's food and you don't play with people's money. Everything else is up for grabs. Okay. So when you decide in a committed relationship to crack a joke with your loved one, another thing you're not going to do is you're not going to joke about their insecurities. Anything that they feel cautious about. So you got an overweight girlfriend, don't make fat jokes. You got a short boyfriend, don't make short jokes. Okay? You've got a broke boyfriend, don't make broke man jokes. Okay? When you're joking in good fun, in good health, where both sides find it entertaining. It is not when it is a one side you're laughing, but they're not because their feelings are hurt. That is not a joke. That is bullying your partner. It's psychological and emotional abuse, and it is a very toxic relationship. It's not intended to be, but it is. And each time that you endure that, the more you harbor resentment against your partner. So the person cracking these unhealthy jokes might think all in the midst of fun. But if you can joke about cheating on your partner, you can actually cheat on your partner. If you're joking about leaving your partner, you can actually leave your partner. If the words can come out of your mouth of doing something negative, then that means that the thought has already crossed your mind. Saying it in a safe space of just kidding allows for you to test the reaction of the person that is receiving the information to see how they will react and respond to what you're doing. That gives you a baseline of what you can and cannot tell your partner. You start talking about hiding bodies in the backyard, and your partner starts talking about you're scaring me. They know they can't tell you about the bodies in the backyard. You start talking to your partner about bodies in the backyard, and your partner starts talking about starting a pig farm in the backyard and disposing of the body through the pigs, and then taking the teeth and putting the teeth out in the ocean. Now you know you got a partner that's not only going to help you with the bodies in the backyard, they're not going to say nothing about it, right? But when you make these kind of jokes, you're testing the person to see how they're going to react to it. You'll tell your friend a little white lie and see how they respond to it. If they take it well, you give them a bigger lie. If they take that well, you keep doing it. When you reach the threshold, if that's not what they're going to tolerate, that's the information you're not going to bring to them. We used to do it with our parents. We would start with lying about our grades because we knew the report card wasn't coming straight home. We would lie about what we're doing at school. We would lie about what we were doing when we were out with our friends. When we came back late, sometimes we would not even have a logical reason why we came back late, but we would lie about not coming back on time. When we didn't get what we wanted, kids would have temper tantrums and threaten to do things that we ultimately would not do, but because it's out there, like, oh, I don't like this, I'm going to run away. The possibility of you running away is actually there. Now, you've got two types of parents: the type of parent that says, don't forget to take your shit with you, and the type of parent that says, okay, let's negotiate this. Old school parents would have said, you ain't got to run, you can walk, but you walking out right now, right? Put your ass out at 15 years old. New school parents begging and pleading with the child to keep the child from leaving the house. The psychological and emotional abuse that's happening in a relationship starts in your childhood and carries off into your adulthood. So when you're in a relationship with a girl that's going to joke about the breakup that you just had in an unhealthy position, you might as well just squash that relationship and let that relationship slide, because you don't want to be in a relationship where you resent the other person. It doesn't matter if you love them or not. If you are starting to harbor resentment because of the things that they're saying, and you're not going to be able to fix that, which requires the other person to change. First person accountability is you're not supposed to allow yourself to be places where you're not happy. And that means that since you're not happy in a relationship that you're in, you got to leave and not go back this time. All right, let's go ahead and check base with the next one.
I would make such a good wife. For the right person, I would be such an amazing wife and partner. I don't want kids and would love to build a dink lifestyle with someone, but most of the guys who are enthusiastic about me working are dudes who want to get out of working and have me be the breadwinner. I can cook well and have maintained my own space for 10 years. I am thin and maintain my health. I don't care if you want to game for hours because I will dive into a book or movie and we can meet up for dinner. I'm not a spender. I am the opposite of extravagant. I am frugal and work hard to hopefully retire well. I like to live a drama-free, mellow, peaceful life. If you broke down on the side of the road, I'd bring a spare and change it out for you. I am average looking, not Instagram average where there's filters and natural makeup, but average. I just want a partner who holds up their end of the bargain. Works a job that maintains their own expenses, has a car, is drug-free, and has common sense. I think I will die alone.
So what you want is a roommate. You want a roommate with benefits. That's what you want. Um, so here's the thing. Nothing you said makes a good wife. Yeah, you cook and you clean, but a good wife manages the chaos in the house so that the husband doesn't have to deal with that, so that the husband can manage other things. Um, a lot of women don't like to follow instructions. They don't like to be, they want a leader, but they do not want to be directed by that leader. And no woman has ever made that make sense to me because if you want a man to lead, you must follow his lead, which means that if he tells you to go to the right because that's the direction we're going, you're going to the right because he said so, right? Now that requires a level of obedience. Women are objective to that. And I don't understand how they validate that in a relationship when the boss says you're working in the kitchen tonight, you're working in the kitchen tonight. Even though you're a server, we're shorthanded, you're working in the kitchen tonight. Yes, sir. Right away, sir, for minimum wage. But your husband says, we're not taking the Bentley today, we're taking a Toyota. No, I want to be in the Bentley. Da, da, da. A good wife has to have organizational skills, which means that she has to be able to manage the appointments. She has to be able to manage the things around the house. Women back in the day used to manage the money. Women don't want to manage the money. They want an allowance and have the man manage everything that a woman used to manage. Back in the day, women used to mend the men's clothes and buy the man's clothes and keep the men looking sharp. These days, the women could get two shits. A man has to pay for a tailor. He's got to get his own clothes designer. He has to do. He's got to get a housekeeper. He's got to get a nanny. He's got to get everything that a wife is supposed to do. A man has to hire help to do it, and then the girlfriend doesn't have anything to do besides look attractive, argue with her man, and then potentially give sex. Uh, that doesn't make you a great wife. Um, so she did express some capabilities of turning a couple wrenches, which kind of makes her more of a tomboy. But what she did was she explained all of the masculine qualities that she has, and she's admitted that the guys that she hangs with typically are younger, less mature men that are more about video games and less about 9 to 5s. And because she wants to be in charge, they're giving her the full in charge position by saying, "Sure, I'll stay at home and be a house husband, and you take your ass to work and make the money." And I don't disagree with that at all. Steven says they want men to lead them to the ATM so they can make the rest of the calls in most cases. You're right. You are definitely right. She wants you to lead her to wherever your resources are so that she can run your resources. I actually was in a relationship with somebody once and uh I was dealing with one of my businesses in downtown and uh one of her relatives wanted to use one of my facilities and she started calling the shots and she's talking about some, her warehouse. I said, hold on. First of all, I'm 51% shareholder over this business. My partner, my homeboy from college, got the rest of the shares. You got no shares in this company. You haven't financially invested in this company. You don't even work for this company. How do you dictate who can and cannot operate my facility? Like you over here wilding in front of your friends, talking about your shit. None of that is your shit. Not even the car you drove up here in is your shit. It's my shit that you benefit from. Everybody's ooh. I mean, I learned then, and that was like what 5 years ago. I learned it. A lot of times women will stamp their authority on anything that you are attached to because she believes that because since she's with you, he is by proxy the boss over your shit. And the men who submit in these relationships, that actually becomes true. But a masculine man that stands on his business is standing on his non-negotiable expectations for behavior is going to look at that particular type of situation and say, no, no, you don't dictate terms here. You are here one step above a guest, but you are not two steps above the help because the wife is supposed to be the helper. So a lot of women who believe that they're wife material because they're attractive, they're wife material because they have masculine characteristics that they lead their relationships with. Those women believe that they deserve to be married, but no, I can tell you right now that uh, a good organizer would be more fantastic in my situation right now than a woman that could turn a wrench. I mean, a woman who can knock out the stove and cook and clean and stuff like that, so that I don't have to put so much effort into getting it done. More beneficial, right? Oh, really, really and truly, not just in the kitchen, because you back office stuff with the podcast, the organizing my schedules, stuff to that effect. Taking care of certain responsibilities so that I have more free time to get some sleep and spend time with family. These are things that a wife would do. But if she's going to take care of number one and she wants him to bring in the rest, you want a roommate with benefits. You don't want a husband, right? She'll find one eventually, but that guy's going to be a simp because that's the only way it's going to work for her is that he's submissive to her. Otherwise, she's not going to be okay with that. She's too domineering already, right? I know a lot of women say, "Oh well, why won't you date me? I'm 35, 40 years old, and I already know what I want." That's exactly why I don't want to date you because you're 35, 40 years old and you already know what you want. Uh, because you're not willing to cooperate, you're not willing to negotiate, you're not willing to, you know, participate in ways that I need you to participate, and that's a red flag for me. You know, 18 to 25 because at 41, 42 years old, 50% of my age would be 21 plus 7 would be 28. So, 27, 28-year-old woman right now that is willing to compromise, that is willing to cooperate, that is willing to create a legacy. That person is going to be more beneficial to me than the 35, 40-year-old woman that knows what she wants. You heard her slip in there that she wasn't interested in kids. How are you wife material? Yeah, you're career oriented like a man. You got your finances together like a man, but now you want a more masculine man than you to step in and do what? Because you do everything that a man is supposed to do because you have replaced a man in your life since you don't have a man in your life. And you're unwilling to back down. No woman realizes that the average single man cooks and cleans for himself, organizes his life for himself, doesn't do a 100% good job of it, but he does it for himself until a woman steps in. The feminine roles in the relationship, the man retreats from those roles when he thinks he has a qualified woman to take over. Women will not retreat from the masculine roles when they think they have a qualified man to take over. She keeps that authority. But like Steven said, that causes us to lead into the ATM machine because as long as she holds on to that authority of being her own leader, you can't have two tribal chiefs. You only got one person sitting at the head of the table. Okay. And everybody else comes second. And until she recognizes that, she's gonna have a hard time finding what she's looking for. All right, let's go ahead and touch base with the next one.
I think I accidentally started quitting smoking because I was too lazy. This wasn't planned at all. A few days ago, I ran out of cigarettes and didn't feel like going out to buy more. I told myself I'd go later, but then I got distracted, had dinner, watched something, and went to sleep. Next day, I woke up and realized I hadn't smoked since the day before. I thought, okay, I'll just wait a bit longer. Now it's been a couple of days, and I'm in this weird situation where I don't know if I'm actually quitting or just continuing a streak of laziness. I still think about smoking, especially after eating or with coffee, but at the same time, I also don't feel like putting in the effort to go buy cigarettes. So I guess right now my main strategy for quitting is being too lazy to relapse. Not sure this is smart or stupid, but it's working so far.
Making a change in your life that requires you to just stop doing something, doesn't matter how you justify it, you stop doing it. From what I understand, what I'm thinking about here is that you weren't smoking because of a psychological or emotional suppression scenario. Because a lot of people who smoke and are addicted to smoking, they just got to go out and buy those cigarettes. Are people who smoke from extreme stress and anxiety, and they suppress that stress and anxiety from the smoking. Some people have chemical imbalances, and that smoking levels them out regardless of the other health risks involved. But there are people who are social smokers who smoke for a number of reasons. For example, if you work on a job that allows for paid smoke breaks, but non-smokers must clock out for that same period of time, you picked up smoking so that you can go sit down for 5 or 10 minutes and not have to clock out. You might have a social circle of smokers, and to not seem like a leech, you buy cigarettes and bring it with you so that you can have cigarettes with your friend. And then, like, y'all can take turns sharing cigarettes and smoking with one another. You could have utilized this in your younger years as a catalyst to make friends. Since everybody was a smoker, you would bring smokes and you would offer some in some situations and bum some off of people in other situations because during that 10 to 15 minutes of smoking, you actually bond with the person that you either lent the cigarette to or the cigarette that you borrowed from the other person. And that turns into a new buddy in your group, but everybody's a smoker. Um, but it was a personal choice to start smoking. And it actually was probably part of a persona. Um, Once you didn't have a reason to do it, you didn't find value in it. You were in a situation where it wasn't financially responsible to do it, and then you just stopped doing it. You're like, hey, I could quit right now. Of course, one of the first steps in quitting is not buying any because if you have cigarettes and you long for them, it's easy to pull cigarettes out of your pocket and smoke. If you don't have any cigarettes, now you got to get up and go get you some cigarettes. The subconscious choice to drive to the store solely to buy cigarettes can be personally degrading in a scenario where you're trying to quit. Um, you're harder on yourself than society could ever be. You would shame yourself for going out there to buy the cigarettes because you're trying to quit. But because you weren't trying to quit initially, you just realized that it's not that hard to quit for you, where it might be nearly impossible for someone else that might need a patch or something else to help them with the quitting. The fact is that once you stopped, all you have to do is just not buy the cigarettes. You make it seem like it's easy. It's not. Whenever you need gas, you can pay at the pump. But if you ever went inside to grab you a soda, you're right next to ordering a pack of cigarettes. Whenever you go to the grocery store, you can do self checkout. But if you see customer service is empty, you might end up right next to the cigarettes. It's not that hard to pick them up. It takes a lot of motivation to not buy them. So at the end of the day, the fact that you have chosen to accept the fact that the cigarettes are no longer valuable to you, now you're in a position where, stopping is key. Now, the second step is going to be not lingering around people who smoke, because some some people with bad habits don't want to support those habits on their own. So they will spend twice as much money on cigarettes because half of the pack they're sharing with people next to them so that everybody's smoking in their presence, right? So you're going to see a person go smoke, you're standing next to that person, they're going to offer you one, right? Like I said earlier, socially bonding through smoking cigarettes, through an activity. You have to say no. And unfortunately, they're gonna say, "Are you sure?" At that moment, most of the time, the willpower case, fuck it, I'll just go ahead and get one. And it goes from getting one to getting three to I'll just buy me a pack on the way home. I'm gonna buy a pack to give back to the guy who gave me so many. And now that I've bought the pack, now I got a pack. I might end up with buy one, get one. Now I gave him a pack to replace the ones I bought. Now I got a pack, and now I'm back to smoking again. So now that you're not buying them, now you need to not hang around individuals that smoke. Don't go to places that have smoke in the social atmosphere. No bars, no hookah lounge, no smoking lounge, no gentlemen's clubs, places where smoking is the activity in that environment. Right now, you can't control the whole world. So you can't say, well, I'm gonna go putt putt golf and somebody's not gonna be smoking at putt putt golf. They might be there smoking, but the likelihood of you and that person being on the same hole, they're smoking, you're trying to putt, you're like, let me hit that before I, is clearly unlikely. So you're avoiding deliberately going to places where you know that an abundance of smokers would commute. That would help you out. Steven says, cigarette prices are through the roof. I'm glad I quit many years back. Bro, cigarettes are like $15 to $20 a pack right now. I told you the other day, what was it? Artero, yeah, Altario stock, Alteerao, I think is how it's spelled. Uh, as one of the stocks that I gave you guys. It's a cigarette company. And it's a dividend payer. It's a monthly dividend payer. The less people are smoking today than what they were smoking 20 years ago, but the price going up, it's a commodity that is not competed against because of all of the cigarette laws. They're switching over to vape pens, but vape pens aren't as popular as we thought it were going to be. It's just an alternative form. One of the biggest reasons why tobacco companies are going to continue to make a lot of money, even though more people are switching over to weed than they do um, actual like Newports, Cools, Camels, and stuff like that, is the fact that they were going to buy tobacco products, blunt wraps and stuff like that, which used to be back when we were in our 16 to 20-year-old ages, we used to buy actual Cuban cigars and then cut them up and use the leaf to smoke the weed. And these days, they make specific little blunt wrap things, and you do what you got to do to roll those up and make the blunts out of it. And they're selling like $5 for two, right? So you're gonna smoke two joints. It's gonna cost you $5 for the joints and $160 for the weed, and they're still gonna make the money because what the kids is doing, and this shit just blows my mind. They throw away the tobacco anywhere on the ground, in the trash, whatever. Take the leaf, fill it with weed, roll it up, and smoke it. That's what's happening. So the tobacco company is still going to make a shit ton of money. But for $15 to $20 for a pack of cigarettes, for one pack, not the carton. The carton now is like 250, 275 for a carton, and the carton's got like 10 or 12 of them in there. One pack is almost $20. We said Prospect Capital is like $2.45, something like that a share. 2 for $5 for Prospect Capital. That means you can get like 8 shares of Prospect Capital for a pack of cigarettes. It's like 445, 455 for Ellington Residential. That means you can get like three and a half shares of Ellington Residential for a pack of cigarettes. It's like $7, $6, $6 or $7 for Orchid Island. You can get 3 shares of Orchid Island for a pack of cigarettes. Like I'm looking at this like, man, cigarettes is costing too much money, bro. I need to put. Is that those blunt wraps are nasty and full of preservatives. When I used to smoke, I would just buy Garcia Vegas, crack them through the tobacco and roll the leaf. Yeah. Well, okay, so they do the blunt wraps. There's also the little paper things. The most effective ones that I've always said is the real actual cigars, not going to the corner gas station and going and buying the blunt wraps. But the Gen Zs don't know no better, so they have not experienced better quality. So since that's the best that they've ever had, that's what they're supposed to do. They follow the tradition of going and getting the. But did you know, while we're on this topic, instead of wasting all that damn money on a leaf, since most of the time you're smoking at your house, if you got you a beaker, right, filled it with some water and put one of those little hookah stands on there and put your weed on there and then set that son bitch on fire and it's your little distillation chamber, got your little hose on of it and cool it through the water and suck the smoke. You could make a bong in your house out of your college lab equipment and save money on rolling papers. Because all you would really need is maybe like the little coal and the little nugget and the chamber is reusable. And here's one thing, because from back in college, I'm gonna tell y'all some stuff. Throw you some Listerine in there, and now you have alcohol and weed coming out in the film. Because once you set the ethanol on fire from the Listerine, now you've got tobacco and ethanol, marijuana. You get your good buzz and go lay down and watch you some Entourage, and call it a day. But way cheaper than what these kids are doing these days. I'm just saying. I know the method. It was some of you college kids that cut the bottom out of the Sprite. They do the gravity bomb where you fill it full of smoke and you got the bathtub full of water or whatever, and then you push the Coke bottle into the water, and then the smoke goes into your lungs. And yeah, I've seen all of it. I've seen all the nut stuff the kids was doing back in college. The only one that made sense was a reusable product. You put your little bit of water in there, you put your stuff at the top, you set fire to it, you smoke it, you're good. The most money you were going to spend after you got the equipment was the weed that you were smoking. But buying a lighter, buying the rolling papers, and buying the weed every time you got to smoke, you're looking at $125, $200 for the weed. Then you're looking at $10 for papers, and then a big lighter, like $2, $3 each time you want to smoke some shit. Come on, y'all. That's too much money you throwing away. For the weed and the weed kit, that's too much damn money. Is I had to find you gotta be a cheaper way to do it, right? Right. But that's just what I mean. He said week is one thing I cut out forever. Oh, weed is one thing that you cut out forever and won't revisit it. Smart move because it's a waste of money. Wouldn't hit bowls or bongs because people could smoke anything out of them. I would only smoke blunts that I would roll myself. Well, you and I grew up in the era where they were putting like angel dust and stuff like that on there, LSD on the stuff, and roll it up and smoke it. Now they got Tunchi out there, so you got the spice and everything like that. You got fentanyl, so you got the weed laced with fentanyl these days. It's just as dangerous. It's just different stuff. Actually, probably more dangerous nowadays than what it used to be. But if you trust your local street dealer, because when people say that I don't trust the equipment because they could put anything in the equipment, your supplier could have put something in it before they sold it to you. You trust your supplier. All you got to do is wash the equipment and then use it. But the average smoker leaves the residue, adds more flavor. So whatever they just smoked in it, So if I had my own equipment, I'm not going to share somebody else's equipment. But that's just because I don't want to put my mouth on something that somebody else's mouth has been on, ladies. But at the same time, um, I'm still looking at the dynamic that it's cheaper to have your own hardware at your house and just rebuy the supply than it is to buy the supply and buy the kit to use the supply. I just think that all of that is too much effort. Then you got to go through I got to roll it up and all of this other stuff. Bro, again, you can turn this into an instance where you take the nugget, put it into a position where it can be burned, where it can just fumigate the entire house. Now the whole house smells like weed. You don't have to go through the trouble of setting fire to stuff, dropping ashes all over the place, disposing of the ashes, papers, rolling. You don't got to do all that. But here's another thing I've been telling people about with weed. Why set it on fire? Grind it up, grind it up, right? I ain't even talking about break it up, roll it up, pick out the seeds. No, fuck it, grind it up, and then take it like parsley and sprinkle it into your fucking food, bro. Put it into your spaghetti and meatballs. You ain't even gotta set it on fire. You can just put it into the sauce for the spaghetti and meatballs. You got weed in the spaghetti. The THC gonna hit you the same way. Actually, more so because you didn't set it on fire, so you didn't burn off a lot of the chemicals. I tell them like, bro, there's so many different ways that you can get on that level. They're infusing it into sugar and stuff. They got some places that's got it in the wine. They got some weed cigarettes out there where you could just buy one with the filter on it and just light it up. It's just full of weed. It's just uh times have changed since Woodstock. But yeah, when it comes down to quitting a habit that doesn't benefit you, when you mature mentally, emotionally, psychologically, all at the same time, you tend to stop doing things that don't benefit you. Because you start finding that it takes more effort for me to go out there and fuck shit up than what it is for me to keep things stable. And that's when you stop fucking shit up. That's when you start being more fiscally responsible. That's when you start weighing the pros and cons of every financial decision. And when I talk about financial decisions, it's not just paying bills, it's anything that you could do that will cost you money. Whether it is you spending money or you deciding not to make money in order to be involved in something. All of that is impacted by your decision making. Is that is one that I do miss, but it ultimately didn't serve me. I know, right? It didn't serve me neither. That's why that's why I'm like, no, no, no. I can find better things to do with my money. Maybe in like 30 years, when I'm old as dirt, I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead and pass me one of those whippersnapper. But at that time, I'm gonna be a few $1 million in, and I got enough money to pay somebody to be a supplier, drop it to my house, roll it up for me, hand it to me. You know what I mean? I mean, when you reach that point, when you reach that, Bill Gates rich, you might not have a problem with, you know what I mean? But while we're pillar to post, paycheck to paycheck, while we are essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul or trying to make ends meet, there is no logic behind spending money on brief entertainment, especially when there's so much effort that goes into it. Because I mean, problem number one, you have to find a supplier. They are never on time. You got to not get arrested making the transaction. Then you got to make it home with the product without getting arrested. You got to stop at the grocery store without getting arrested, buy the papers because you never have extra papers on hand. You only have what you didn't use from the last time. And if it's been a while, that might have gotten stale. So you got to buy you some fresh ones. You got your lighter never got lighter fluid in it when you need it. So you got to buy you another one. Now you go back to the house. Now you got to pick out the seeds and stems. Then you got to break it up, roll it. You got to crush it, all this stuff. Now you got to sprinkle it into the thing. Then you got to sit here and you got to roll it. Then you got to literally slide it all down. Then you got to sit there with the lighter. You got to try not to burn your fingers and light this son bitch up so that you can sit there and get 8 puffs off that bitch. And now it is too small for you to hit it no more. Now you're looking for some fucking tweezers in your house so that you can pinch the little thing, the rest of it, all this stuff for a good 20 minutes worth of entertainment. The whole process is about 20 minutes worth of entertainment. If you got enough weed to do 2 blunts, you might have an hour's worth of entertainment. And then after that, but you spent 2 hours trying to get this situation together. And if you have an unreliable dealer where it takes them forever to show up, it probably took half a day to get this 1 hour of entertainment. But you likely spent like $160 on it, putting in all this work. It's like, nah, that's too much. I could have done so many different things. That's not that. Then after you're done, you got the munchies. Now you got to go back out and get you something to eat. You trying to order some Domino's. You're spending more money. Then you pass out. You done paid the pizza guy. You don't remember how much. Now you're short money. Then you wake up, you're late, you got appointments that you forgot because you overslept because you smoked you some good weed and you took red man and method man. I wasn't gonna get that job, but I got high. I'm just trying to tell you, this is so much. So it's like it doesn't benefit all the way around. They used to always be on the way right down the street for fucking 5 hours. You'd be like, bro, if you down the street, you supposed to be like 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, bro. You could have walked here with how long it took for you to be from right down the street. They always nearby. But see, what they try to do to keep themselves from being caught in the sting operation, they like to make the block 8 or 9 times, case the scene out, make sure that they can't see nobody so that when they walk up and do the transaction with you, they don't get got. That's typically what it's about. They don't come on time because they don't want to get got, right? And you notice they always show up in a different fucking vehicle. Never the same vehicle on a regular basis, you know. So it's just too much effort. It's just too much effort. Let's just base with the next one.
20 years together, 12 years married. And it feels like I need to leave. Have you been so in love when you were in high school, and just ignore the red flags? And now that you've been together for a long time, red flags keep getting worse and you're hopeless and wanted to leave. But you felt trapped. Every day is either hit or miss. Arguments became part of the routine. I just don't know what to do. We have kids, and I still do care about him. But I can't anymore. 20 YRS together, 12 years married. And it feels like I need to leave. Have you been so in love when you were in high school, and just ignore the red flags? And now that you've been together for a long time,
They
I'm
did
the
it to me
only
again.
female.
All right, let's back it up a little bit because we'll make sure we got it.
have kids, and I still do care about him.
All
But I
right,
can't
so
anymore.
no, that only happens with women. Um, some people say, yeah, that happens to men too. No, so here's the thing. Actually, yeah, no, it only happens with women. So, and the reason being is going to be this: you wanted the lifestyle that he gave you. There were things about him you didn't like, but you didn't say anything because you wanted the lifestyle that he gave you. Now, this puts you in a contradictory situation because if you say too much about the things you don't like, he may take away the things that you do. So, to prevent that, you don't say anything about the things you don't like, which is a huge mistake because you're forever unsatisfied, you're forever unhappy, and you're building resentment when you could have said or done something to cue up the discussion so that if change would be volunteered by your partner, that it can happen. Now, because this mainly happens with women, and I'm saying that it mainly happens with women specifically because men will tell you that you're doing something they don't like. Women will shame men for speaking, but men do at the beginning of the relationship articulate what they're not satisfied with. After being shamed by the woman for so long, he stops telling her the things he doesn't like. He just finds a way to get through it, right? But she makes him that way. Women come that way by default. Men ask, what do you need? What do you like? Are you okay? What can I do? How can I help? Don't worry about it. Nothing. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. But she's shutting you out. She's not telling you what's wrong. She up in here crying. There is a problem. You don't know what it is, but she won't tell you what it is, right? Eventually she'll get over it, but she's going to be mad at you because you didn't fix it, but you didn't know what to fix. Problem is, women are selfish, men are inconsiderate. We did not think about whatever the fuck is going on with you when we was mapping out whatever the fuck we were doing. So when things didn't go the way you wanted it to go, we did not know. Had we known, we would have done something different. But because we didn't know, now you're upset. We can't fix it because we don't know what went wrong because we're not paying attention to that. Inconsiderate. Now that we're trying to fix the problem, you don't want us to know. We're going to stop trying to fix the problem. She's not going to tell me what's wrong. I'm going to let her be bitter, right? Now, that's going to leave you in a relationship where you're ultimately unhappy and they are no longer putting in the effort to fix that. That's on you. Flip the script. If and when a woman is unsatisfied with a man's behavior and her unsatisfaction is valid, she articulates that to the man puts forth the effort to change things, especially early on in a relationship. You were dating for 8 years. You had 6 years to say something. And why do I say 6 years? Well, because the first 6 months, the first 3 months, it was good sex. The second 3 months, we were actually getting along. Then somewhere along the lines, y'all moved in with one another. Likely you got pregnant first, and then the kids come. Once the kids come, before the kids are born, because we have been socially taught since the 80s that children born out of wedlock are societally less valuable than children born in wedlock. So instead of allowing, since we are together, we are dating, we are sleeping together, you're pregnant, instead of us allowing the child to be born without mom and dad being married, we are going to get married while you're pregnant before the child is born. So our marriage came because of the child, not because of how we felt about each other, not because she was worth marrying, not because he was worth marrying, because she got knocked up. We call those shotgun weddings, right? Now, the problem is you don't have to be happy with the guy, and the guy doesn't have to be happy with you if you're getting married because you're pregnant, not being involved for the right reasons. I told y'all this before, relationships don't work out when you're not in it for the right reasons. Ladies, if you got a boyfriend that does not want to propose to you, you are fucking up somewhere and you need to find out where it is. He is not just not proposing because he can't afford to buy the $10,000 ring that you don't really want to allow him to not go get. It's because there's something that you're not doing that a wife should be doing. And that's why he hasn't proposed to you, right? Because on the flip side, ladies, no matter how many times a man proposes to you, you're going to say no because he has not met the expectations of what you believe a husband should be, right? So he's not asking you for your hand in marriage because you are not worth marrying yet. However, women will force a man into marriage. In those situations, he married you because you wanted to, not because he wanted to, which is still not going to be a happy marriage. You got everything that you wanted. He's not happy. You don't care because you got the marriage. If you're in a relationship for 8 years, get married, and then you're in a marriage for 12 years, and for 20 fucking years, you did not at one point in your life ever articulate that you were unhappy. Divorce court is going to tell you to spend the next 12 to 24 months talking to your partner about all the shit that you don't like about your marriage and your relationship so that y'all can try to fix it. And if you can't. After all these years that you've invested in allowing the bullshit to occur without the knowledge to your partner, if you can't work it out now, then you can get a divorce. But it requires you to first try. Divorce court is going to force you to try before you give up. What? Uh, so I've got a really ridiculous question up here. Here's a troller. Black voters have gone over 85% for one party for 50 years straight. Crime, family, and school outcomes still lag. What is driving that? I don't understand what you're asking. You gave me some statistics. It looks like you went and Googled some stuff, and you're just asking me like a random question. Um, I don't understand what you mean. Black voters have gone over 85% for one party for 50 years. What party was that? Because from what I understand, while about 70% of Americans voted for Donald Trump, uh, that's a Republican Party. Before that, Joe Biden. Before that, Well, before that was actually Donald Trump, and before that was Barack Obama. So what you're telling me is that 85% of Black people vote for the same party when they vote for a party. So that means that 85% of them were voting Republican this time around. 85% of them voted Democrat the time before that. 85% voted Republican the time before that, and then 85% voted Democrat the time before that. That's what you're telling me over the past 50 years. I'm not understanding what your question is. Now you're telling me crime, family, and school outcomes still lag. We've covered that part on the show quite a bit. School is lagging because the American people put the responsibility for funding schools on the government, but those exact same American people do not want to pay the taxes required to provide the funding to the government so that the government can allocate the funding to the schools. Family is lagging because the American people want their First Amendment freedom of speech to disrespect and degrade and devalue themselves. And then they want to have society respect them anyway. Um, Crime is down in comparison to what it was in the 80s, but because there's so little crime now in comparison to what there was in the 80s, and we have more accessibility to social media, when crime occurs, it becomes more of a bigger and outblown issue, oversold issue than what it was back in the 80s and 70s and 60s. Um, because now uh, you don't have a drive-by on every street corner um, every week. Now you don't have drugs sold on every street corner where there are like mobs of gangs on every block. Now you don't have SWAT raiding every third house on the block for drugs and illegal alcohol. Now you don't have every seven children being abducted from a park or a school or something to that effect. Um, while crime still exists, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. So I'm not understanding what your questions are. But societal decisions is going to be what drives all of that. He says census shows black kids in single parent homes at twice the rate of white kids for decades. Why has that gap barely moved? Well, that's going to be because family court prioritizes women over men, and women, primarily financially challenged women, prefer a paycheck than a partner in parenting. The larger majority of financially challenged women are going to be Black women. So Black kids or minority kids are going to be in a single family home instead of a co-parenting home, even if it is uh, two parents split custody. where mom pays for the kid when mom has possession or custody of the kid, and dad pays for the kid when dad has possession or custody of the kid, and they're doing a somewhat 55-45 split kind of thing. Um, Most of the time, most women of all races fight to have custody, not because they're better at it, but because if they have custody, they get paid for the kid. They keep the kid for a paycheck. They don't keep the kid for the best interest of the kid. Then we have a social stigma where even on social media, these kinds of questions come up. Oh, well, if she controls whether or not she gets the abortion, her body, her decision. But if she doesn't get the abortion, now all of a sudden, because she chooses to keep the child, the financial responsibility is on the man. Well, if it's 100% her decision, it's 100% her financial responsibility. Um, if it's going to be marginally his financial responsibility, then marginally his responsibility comes with his decision. So if he wants the kid, you give him the kid, even if you don't want the kid. If he doesn't want the kid and you want the kid, you keep the kid. He can sign over the rights, you pay for the kid yourself. Neither one of you wants the kid. You can give the kid up for adoption, but a lot of people might still try to go down the path of abortion. But the reason why kids are growing up without their fathers is because 82% of men 82% of qualified men are denied the right to be parents because of decisions that are made in family court. Not because the men can't do it, not because the men don't want to do it, because the women don't want the men to do it. That's why. And then the women can't do it by themselves. And then the women put the financial responsibility on the man. And then the man is not allowed to do anything other than be a walking ATM until the child is grown. Now, a lot of judges are starting to withdraw, and let's point out the fact that there's a lot more female judges in family court, while the judges are starting to more now withdraw from mandatorily slapping child support on the men, and they are changing where there has been, I think, a 10 or 15% increase in the percentage of men that are getting custody of their kids, but that's a increase out of the decrease that was already existing, and they're starting to do more where it is not just the man has to pay the woman. Now whoever has the higher income pays alimony in a divorce. So the gap hasn't changed because again, society has barely changed. Women still want to be the primary person to have custody of the child and then get paid to have the kid. Women want alimony after the divorce, even though women left without putting any effort to fix the marriage. So society not changing is why society is still the way it has always been for the last 50 years. How do you feel about contradiction between my body, my choice, and forced uh, vaccination from feminists and liberals? I already answered that question. First and foremost, let's start with women who don't want to get pregnant shouldn't have sex. Let's start there. Let's continue with women who are dating should be dating to marry, not dating for hookups. Let's continue on with the 60%, 66% of men these days in 2026 want to be fathers. Women who do not want to be able to or be willing to create a legacy should get a hysterectomy and then put their eggs on a shelf so that they don't accidentally end up pregnant. Recognizing that you're dating a man that wants to be a father, you should withdraw from that relationship before you get too emotionally invested if you are unwilling to be a mother. Now, by the time we get to the pregnancy, um, it becomes a living creature when it has its own heartbeat. And no person should have the right to terminate a life that is already living, that is not in the midst of dying. The My Body, My Choice is led by women who are more irresponsible with their decision making and not willing to um, accept that responsibility and they're getting an abortion because they just don't want to be a parent, not because and this is one of the reasons why I have a big objection about this particular topic because abortion is supposed to be for like assault victims. Um, Abortion is supposed to be for life-threatening health risks where the parent won't survive and the child won't survive either. But getting an abortion because your child might have autism, getting an abortion because you don't have enough money to pay for the kid, getting an abortion because you hate the father, those aren't reasons to get an abortion. But that's what abortions are for. Plan B pills are, the morning after pills. Those are like over the counter abortion tools that are used to allow women to continue to be 304s and not have that responsibility and be dropping it like it's hot like men, and it's not supposed to be that way. um However, when it comes down to my body my choice, if she is going to have unilateral authority over whether or not the child lives, she should have unilateral financial responsibility over the child. um until men have equivalent say in the life of the child, no equivalent financial responsibility should come from the men. Since it is her body, her choice, she chose to give birth to the child. She should choose to take care of the child by herself. Now, if he wants to be involved in the life of the child, then he chooses to pay for the child. But it should not be a mandatory responsibility for the man when it was unilaterally the woman's choice. You're talking about forced vaccinations from feminists and liberals. Um, I don't agree with anything being forced. When they were doing COVID, I was one of the ones that didn't get it. Um, because I mean, shit, the vaccinations, and it's not just liberals, first and foremost. You're gonna throw it out there and blame the liberals, but fucking Republicans were running shit during COVID, so it wasn't liberals. So you can get off that high horse. Uh, the funniest thing about our country is the less politically intelligent individuals always blame the liberals for everything they don't like. But truth be told, because remember, Donald Trump was in office 2017, 18, 19, 20. COVID happened 18, 19, 20. The forced vaccinations was Republicans. Joe Biden didn't say 3 years after COVID, forced vaccinations. You understand? It wasn't liberals, it was Republicans. Um, but no, you should have the requirement to choose if you're going to either get the vaccination or go through the extended quarantine protocols that are now put in place for parties who have not gotten the vaccination. If you don't want to go through those extreme quarantine protocols, don't get the vaccination or go get the vaccination. You know. And he said also, even if you are married, the husband has no say over the abortion. Yeah, so I already covered that part. Yeah. Um, Back in the day, men were forcing women to get abortions, and that's one of the reasons why women were being given more of a right to choose whether or not they wanted to have the children because the women wanted to be mothers back in the day, and men were forcing women to get abortions back in the day. And that's when My Body, My Choice was coming out because women wanted to be mothers. Now women do not want to be responsible at all. And now they're using My Body, My Choice to kill off the next generation, which makes absolutely no sense. He says, no, I'm saying that most feminists are liberals. And when they say that it's their body, their choice, wouldn't be inconsistent for them to say that they should force vaccinations on everybody. Oh, you're saying that most feminists are liberals. Well, I can't argue with that. Um, There are some people in this country that are actually Republicans that just do very irresponsible stuff. Um, and the reason why I keep saying that is because 70% of people voted for Donald Trump. Whether they were Democrat by voters registration card or Democrat by declaration, they voted Republican. Okay. LGBTQ community included, voted Republican. Okay. Um, you're identifying them as liberals. Uh, I would identify them as feminists, but I wouldn't identify them as liberals because Republican feminists are just as bad as Democratic feminists. They don't have, because you're not going to say, well, there's a conservative feminist. There are no conservative feminists. Feminists are extreme, and double standard and biased. Uh, I don't understand why their decisions don't make sense. And I'm all about making it make sense in a uniform fashion. Uh, but I think a better question would be the observation here. You weren't here when we talked about this. They have reimposed the mandatory draft to now automatic registration. So come December of 2026, January 2027, all men between 18 and 26 will be mandatorily registered for the draft. And we're currently in a war with Iran that doesn't have an end date. That means that if we start running out of soldiers come January and we're still in war with Iran, that means that everybody that is over the age of 18 at that time, you can be 17 right now and have your 18th birthday in November and be drafted a month and a half later because we're still in the war with Iran. Now, only men are getting drafted. Women say my body, my choice. Instead of you talking about the hypothetical forced vaccination on everybody, I would say mandatory draft on everybody, right? Because women that say my body, my choice are the same women that are talking about equality. But if you unilaterally make decisions where the other half of the group is excluded from decision making, and it's not equal. Um, when you're unilaterally doing something that negatively impacts somebody else, it is not equal. Because if she disposes of a child that a man wants, she kills his legacy, which ultimately ends the relationship between the two of them. If she gives birth to a child that a man doesn't want and then puts him on child support. If she gives birth to a child that he does want, takes custody of the child, and then leverages the child as a tool for financial compensation where he doesn't get visitation so that she can get more money out of him. These are all ways to psychologically and emotionally manipulate a man for compensation where it doesn't benefit the other person. Putting all of that control on one side is unfair and it's not equal, which is one of the reasons why when women were in relationships with men back in the day and men were doing this, it was not okay. So now that the roles have reversed, it should still be not okay. When women were being oppressed the exact same way, women protested against it. So now that women are in the position to do it, they should behave better. But unfortunately, oppression doesn't change, it just shifts sides. The same way minorities used to be oppressed, black people used to be oppressed by white people, and now black people are oppressing Mexicans. And during COVID, black people were oppressing Asians. As bad as we were treated in the first war, as bad as we were treated for 5 generations after 1942, there's no reason why black people should be treating any race like garbage. But oppression just changes sides. Steven says, I didn't get vaccinated and regretted it because I still caught it. Bro, not getting vaccinated, what I'm gonna tell you something, Steven. You could have got vaccinated and you still could have got COVID. You could have got vaccinated and you could have died from COVID because of the vaccination. Um, Second of all, you didn't necessarily have to get COVID because all of the symptoms of the flu is in fact the same symptoms of COVID, except the flu is a parasite and COVID is a fungus. That's the difference. So You could have gotten a common cold between October and December, and your doctor called it COVID. Why? Because they get paid more money to give you COVID vaccination medication. It's not about what you really had, it's about what they got paid to say you had. And getting COVID is gonna be like getting chickenpox. Can you have a flare up after the fact? Yeah, yeah, I can. My homeboy had COVID 5 times, 2 years after COVID. And last year, he also had shingles, which is a byproduct of chickenpox. But he gets his vaccination on a regular basis. It would not have changed anything. All it takes is for the right person to sneeze in your general direction because we stopped wearing masks. Now we interact with one another like there isn't a virus out there that takes people out. And then somebody sneezes in our presence, and then we get sick. It is what it is. He says, I'm not taking a moral stance from either side. Some people some people get on here and they take a moral stance. He said, host, you're awesome. I know. I know. I gotta give me a soundboard. That way I can add some sound effects to my show. He said any person of any race that represses another person for being of a different race, I can't stand. Bro, there are people that and I'm gonna tell you, I'm racist, you're racist too. And you're gonna say you're not, but think about it. Racism is the capability of hating any group of people that can be categorized as a you people. That's what it is. When you think about racism, you just think about white people mistreating black people or black people mistreating white people. But really, anybody that can be categorized as a you people, whether it's homosexuals, whether it's disabled people, little people, tall people, Amazon women, minorities, the elderly, children, foreigners, locals, Native Americans, anybody, smart people, dumb people, athletes, jocks. We bias against jocks. What's the stereotype about jocks? They're all muscle and no brains. Racism, social classism is a better word for it, right? Social classism. That's why I tell people that racism is more dead than anything around is social classism that's around right now. Anybody that can be classified as a you people, right? Uh, so I can't stand when somebody devalues another individual just because they're different and then deprives that person at the same time. But I have absolutely no problem with somebody recognizing stereotypes and saying, hey, y'all like fried chicken and watermelon. Everybody likes fried chicken and watermelon and Kool-Aid. That is like the perfect combo. You put you some potato salad with no freaking raisins in it, and we're good to go for a family reunion. But at the end of the day, the majority of customers go to Popeyes and KFC. We're in the Million Man March. The truth is the truth. But why do you think that is? It's more because they don't cook at their house. Because while black folks go to Popeyes and KFC, white folks fry the chicken at their house. Why you go to Walmart and see them fucking 20 pack of chicken legs? Black folks on food stamps, they not buying that. He said, Big Kurt has a lyric, it's us against them, and it's just you and me. Exactly. Exactly. But see, one of the things about government that not a lot of people pay attention to, and make sure y'all like and subscribe while y'all coming to this. In order for the majority power minority population to control the majority population with the minority power is to keep us divided. The top 1% controls the largest majority of what happens in this country, 99% of what happens in this country, because the other 99% of people don't get along. The reason why we deal with inflation is because 99% of Americans will waste money on it regardless. We will pay extra money just to say we got it. Look at what happened with the Cybertruck. People are paying $125,000 for what was originally projected as a $70,000 vehicle just to be the first person to have it. After they finish fixing all of the kinks and working out all of the defects on the vehicle, that vehicle will go back to being $70,000 or $80,000, or it might actually, through inflation, be valued at $100,000, but it won't be the Foundation series, right? It won't have that little emblem, which you can buy and paste onto your damn vehicle and be the exact same vehicle, right? So you paid an extra $30,000 for a little emblem that you could have just stuck on a vehicle after the fact, right? And then they divide us up. You've got whites versus blacks, blacks versus Mexicans, Americans versus non-Americans, men versus women, old people versus young people, light skin versus dark skin, heavy fat versus non-heavy fat, straight versus non-straight. So many different divides. Then you got rich versus poor, and different tiers to all of those, that everybody's so divided that we can't come together and put a stop to anything that we recognize doesn't make sense and should not continue. Like, for example, with all of the injustice that we have in family court, there should be no reason why the judges that rule away from keeping fathers in the home should not stay on the bench. But because nobody pays attention to this, they're not voting out the judges that are not supporting fathers being involved in the children's lives. But only like 30% of judges are women. But the more women that are in the judicial system, irony, because back in the day, all the judges were men when they were not voting for the men. Now that the judges are starting to become more women, the judges are now ruling in favor of the men. So it's not because the women are in position of power that the men are not getting the kids. The men are getting the kids more because more women are taking power. They're starting to think logically like, nah, she's full of that bullshit. But I mean, a woman can tell that another woman is full of the bullshit because women know how to bullshit. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. So when a man is like, I don't know what's going on, I'm being deprived. The judge is like, I know exactly what's going on because that's what I would have did if I was her. Steven said raisins and potato salad is a no for me. I love the rest of the foods you mentioned. But look, Steven, that's the stuff that you'll see one of them old Southern Caucasian families come out there with raisins in the potato salad. And I don't know why they do that, but they put raisins in the potato salad. And I'm like, that's not what potato salad is supposed to be for. Raisins sound like something that should have went into like a shepherd's pie or some shit, not a damn potato salad. It's supposed to be like potatoes, some eggs, some mustard, maybe a little bit of mayonnaise. I don't know what all go into it, but I know that raisins don't belong in it. Is I just paste that emblem on the Toyota and sport where the paint in a spot where the paint is peeling. Hell nah. I would never deface my Toyota with a Tesla logo. I would go and get one of them aftermarket emblems that says old school edition or classic edition or antique edition. I get one of those and put on the car because I mean the car is like 30 years old. Anything over 30 years old is an antique. I get one of those. But to deface my Toyota with a Tesla emblem, nah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's like getting a Supra and putting a Honda logo on it. No. No. That's like buying a Ford. It's like buying a Ford and putting anything else on it except Ford. Like sticking an Audi logo on a Ford. It's disrespectful. We had some fun tonight. I, mean, I still got some more. I still got some more. Damn. I thought I was done. I still got some more.
My brother masturbates in my room. How can I make him
Oh,
stop?
yeah.
We live in a 3-bedroom apartment, but are a family of 5 adults. My parents have the first room. I have the second bedroom, since I'm the only female. My eldest brother has the third room because he works in phone sales and needs privacy to his Zoom and work calls. So it was decided that my other brother is the one least in need of a full room since he doesn't own much and doesn't work. He stays in a makeshift room in the living room with curtains for a poor excuse of some privacy. I'm not home much because I work, so I wouldn't mind him using my room when I'm not using it. But he smokes in it, and the smell lingers in the pillows, which bothers me when I try to sleep, eats on my bed and leaves crumbs and mushed bits of food on the sheets. Lies on the bed right after the gym, all sweaty with socks that smell like a decaying body. I also am very acne prone, so I take great care in keeping my pillows very clean, so I have to change the covers every time he comes in, which is a big pain in the ass. But the worst of all is the discarded tissues and Vaseline he leaves behind. It makes me nauseous. I can't stand sleeping in the bed after that. So I tell him not to use my room even when I'm not using it, which makes him very upset and starts an argument with my parents about not having any privacy and wanting his own room, so I give in and agree to just keep the peace and not be the villain, and it happens all over again. What should I do? We are all in our early 20s. We live in a very financially struggling country, and it's not the norm to move out. My parents bought the apartment when we were kids. We grew up, and it doesn't fit anymore. My brother in question kept arguing with our parents to rent him an apartment on his own, which was such an insane request. But my parents actually gave in after 2 years of arguing. He ended up returning after a couple of weeks because he realized that living under your parents' roof is way easier than taking full care of yourself, room or no room. My older brother moved out a couple of times for work, but also ended up coming back. I don't make nearly enough money to move out. My mother knows about what he does in my room. She said she had a conversation with him about it, and he laughed, and that's all I know. My brother isn't malicious or incestuous. He is mentally ill and on many kinds of medication.
That's not it. That's not it. He a young man and he ain't got no damn personal space, and most men do stuff like that, but he don't got his own room to do it in. That was a terrible start for her to tee off the show with. Okay, so here's the thing. So he needs that room more than you do. Now, all y'all can't afford to go live somewhere on y'all own. You should take the makeshift room in the living room, let him have the personal space in the bedroom. You not there that often. When you come home, you can take shower in mom and dad's room, and then you can go and appropriately dress yourself and then go lay down in the living room, and your brothers can do their thing in their own bedrooms. That way, you don't have to worry about him violating the living room the way he violates the bedroom. Let him have the room. So you talked about everything other than rearranging the situation. Oh, because you're the only girl, you have to have your own room. No, you're barely there, according to what you said. You go to work, you spend a lot of time away from the house. You can't afford to live somewhere else, but you can go other places, stay by your friend's house. When you date a guy, live with a guy, all of these different things that you can do that a man can't do, right? Even in your country. Um, So why battle him for the privacy of that room? Let him have it. Give him the room. You go camp out into the living room and y'all make it do what it do. None of y'all make enough money to do it by yourself, so y'all gotta work it out together. Since the only issue that you have is that he's doing it in that room and that room is supposed to be yours, change the narrative. If it was his room and he was doing that in his room, it wouldn't bother you. So As long as he's not specifically doing it in your sleeping space, like you give him the room and then he's doing that in the living room now because you're in the living room, as long as that's not happening, you can fix the problem just by switching rooms. Now, another thing your mom and dad could do, they could take the living room, give you their room, put your brother in his room. All the kids have their own individual private bedrooms, and the parents sleep in the living room. Parents do that a lot. But again, it's going to be a situation where you're rearranging the living space where the boy has his own room and you have your own personal space as well. But just arguing with him and talking to him about, oh, well, you shouldn't do that in my room. But here he's the only one without a room. Like that makes no sense. But again, I would say move out. I would say get a roommate with a friend. Uh, all kind of things that you can do to not have to deal with that. But yeah, it is cheaper to stay with family than it is to live on your own. It is cheaper to stay financially in a collective and split the expenses as young adults than what it would be to do it on your own. But he says she could bring her friend around to introduce them to her brother. That room would have no other activities going on in there. Problem solved. Well, if she brought her female friends over, then they would be shagging in that room. They're all in their 20s. Dude clearly has needs that aren't being met. She brings hot friends over. They're going to use the room for the exact same stuff, but she's not going to be able to sleep in that bed after he finished doing with her friend what he's doing to himself. So the problem would definitely be solved if she gave up the room, let him have it, and set up shop either in a different room or set up shop in the living room. Now, she could, her and two of her friends could get a three-bedroom somewhere and they could split the cost. And she could live with her friends who are probably going to have some of the same problems where they're going to be shagging in their rooms with random guys, and she's going to have to listen to that. But at least she would be in her own space. Young folks, they go to college, they live on campus, comes out of their tuition. But once summertime comes, if you don't have summer class, they typically make you go back home anyway. So eventually, you're going to have to give up your own space. So if there's three kids, two adults, and it sounds to me like you got like a three-bedroom place, and mom and dad is not giving up their bedroom, the rest of y'all got to figure something out or get the fuck out. One of the two. But in that particular situation, the woman would probably move out and stay gone first and the longest because when she marries a man, the man typically moves her into his house. Women usually do not. They do it, but they don't usually do it. Women usually do not move a man into her house. Usually it's the other way around. So the two boys that are living in mom and dad's house are less likely to move out and move in with another woman. They would more likely move a woman into their parents' house. So which means that you would have more people in that small house and less space. So I would be focusing on that, finding a way to partner up with some folks, group on that shit, and move out. You know what I mean? Because if you rent by the room and you got three, four people that you know that you can reasonably trust, and y'all rent a four-bedroom and y'all split the cost four ways. You know what I mean? You got your own space. Likewise, though, if everybody's got a job in the house, mom and dad's got a pension of some kind, y'all could upgrade to a four-bedroom and all of y'all live together in a four-bedroom and y'all don't have to worry about nothing. Everybody's got their own room. The boy can be nasty in his own room and y'all don't got to worry about it, you know? But as long as y'all are in that three-bedroom, it is what it is. That was a wild one, but that was the last one. I told y'all, these are some brutal questions from the fans. I got no problem with answering wild ones as long as they're reasonably appropriate. So we've got the rest of the week lined up for you guys already. Yeah, we got the rest of this week lined up for you guys already. We're going to be lining up the rest of the month for y'all as we go on the rest of this week. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you guys hit those notification buttons. Double check and make sure that your notification buttons are active for all of the upcoming shows so that you don't miss any of them. Uh, then take a look at over the next couple of weeks, take a look at the membership and see what you've got, what starts popping in, so that you guys can make sure that you have everything that you need. And then if you have any questions about something that was supposed to go into the membership, if you don't see it, you ask me about it, and I'll be able to put it back in the membership a second time, or put it in there for the first time if I haven't gotten to it yet, so that you guys have access in real time to the things that you need. Um, Beyond it, oh man, I was sitting over here thinking, Steven, I had a guy come up with one of my comments on one of my shows, and he was just like, "Oh, you copied my show." I'm looking at this guy like, "Who the fuck are you?" I don't even scroll through YouTube, right? Exclusively get on YouTube just to go live. That is all I'm on YouTube for, is just to go live. So if another podcaster covers a topic that I covered, that is a pure coincidence. Because I am not gonna, I'm not gonna go through YouTube and be like, "Ooh, that's a good topic. I'm gonna cover it." There's so much shit I'm covering right now. There's so many follow-ups. I'm on a mission right now of global improvement through self improvement and first person accountability that I don't have enough time to find somebody else's content and be like, I'm going to mimic that. Then when I promote authenticity, I don't even feel like it, I don't even feel comfortable with trying to emulate somebody else's thing. My podcast is so unorthodox at this moment, to the magnitude where there's no way that I could replicate the way somebody else does what they do. Now there are certain things, like I see certain people on their podcast with soundboards and they have the sound effects, and I can see myself coming up with my own sound effects to kind of add more emphasis to some of the stuff that I say on the show. But for me to go and get the exact same sound effects that they have, I don't even know where the fuck they got their sound effects from. You know what I mean? But I know that I can get myself a soundboard and then have some sound effects on it. So when I seen the thing, I was like, oh yeah, that's a troll. That's a troll. But I thought that was funny to see, because one of the things that YouTube does is it shows me any copyright videos, and copyright videos are videos where my content, they scan my content, and if any of my content resembles somebody else's content, I get notified about it. I have not been notified about similar content to anyone in like 3 years now. And the last time it was, somebody was using my content on their video. So I was sitting there looking at this guy like, what you talking about? All right, whatever. We ain't had too many words after that, but I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny. The more popular you become, the more visibility that you get, the more people are gonna hate. And you know that you're doing it right when haters are hating. So you gotta let the haters hate. Speaking of, I got that as one of the shows that we're gonna be covering coming up soon. I know I was talking about haters a couple actually about a year some change ago. But we're going to be covering that topic again from a different perspective coming soon. So I put that in there, but I thought that that was just very interesting. Um, Beyond that, I'm going to go ahead and say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I gave you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by improving your financial life, but also improving your decision making skills by putting forth the effort to change the things that are inside of your control. You have the capabilities of navigating around the things that are outside of your control. And that also helps you create a better way of life. Is that no one is doing what you're doing? I know. That's why when somebody come and hit me with it, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Because nobody is doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I curate unique topics. I come from an unorthodox perspective. I pull up Uh, I do my research on it, matter of fact. And then I've got hours upon hours of script that's organized together, 75 to 100 pages. So when somebody else is like, I got it, I'm looking at him like he lost his mind. He says someone else falls asleep covering Papua New Guinea. You know it came from you. Tell me about it, bro. I fell asleep on Papua New Guinea. I was like, fuck that place. But no, it was what episode was it that this dude come up here with the bullshit he told me about? Um uh he said where was it? Her true worth. 4 days ago, I was covering a topic about the value of women, right? Well, no, I covered the topic probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And after I finished covering the topic about the value of women, because women are in fact valuable, they just don't behave valuably. Um, Now this guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh yeah, you covered my topic." Fuck you mean, dude? What the? Just because there isn't that much information about valued women because women don't behave valuably more often than not in modern 2026 society doesn't change the fact that I covered that topic because it was on my agenda. You know what I mean? So I was just like, it is what it is. But when dude came and got me on it, I still see the post. I'm actually looking to go to his channel. He don't even have it on his channel. That's the funny part. That's the funny part. He's got on his channel, he's got podcast edit, Who Am I, Muggsy Bogues NBA edit, Rolex submarine edit highlights. He's got 5 videos and he joined in December of 2023. So he's had an account for 3 years now, and he's only put up 5 videos in 3 years. And the last video went up over a year ago, and none of those topics was the value of a woman. So I was like, nah, he go sit down somewhere. Typically, what trollers do is that they do enough on their channel, post up a couple dozen videos, get a couple subscribers, be perceived as a real person. Then they kind of let their account like phase out and kind of go dark. And then when they need that account, they pop up out of nowhere and they troll other people. And it's outrageous. But when it happens, it's just like I said, they're gonna do what they gotta do. He says, when you do good, people hate. Yes, that's true. Is that when I went back to the restaurant to work recently, my manager asked how school was going, and I told her I got a full scholarship and went to Harrisburg to get honored. Yeah, congratulations on that. The dynamic is that when you're doing bad, everybody loves to come around and enjoy your misery and then try to give you false senses of empathy, like, oh, it's gonna be okay, blah blah blah, feature bullshit. But they're enjoying the fact that you're miserable. When you start coming up, the ones that were really backing you are gonna be proud of you. The ones that were really backing you are going to be enthusiastic and going to put in more effort to help you get further. The ones that were not backing you from the beginning, that was always there when it was a woe is me situation, now it's a look at me situation, and they don't want to look anymore. They're like, nah, I don't want to see that. That spotlight's too bright, right? They develop levels of jealousy. They develop levels of envy because when you start striving for greatness, you end up surpassing anything that the other person could have ever reasonably done in their life, and they hate that. They hate that. So ultimately, what that does is that puts them in a position where they take it out on you. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, but they take it out on you. Uh, he said she couldn't hide the hate in her face for a good 30 seconds. Then she pulled it together and congratulated me. People just hate because when you elevate, they mad. It is not them. Yeah, they hate the fact that it's not them. And I know that she would have been pissed off because she's still a manager in a restaurant. You're going to college. You're going to do something with your life. She's probably way older than you, didn't do anything with her life. She's going to be fucking pissed off that, you got into college with full ride scholarship and shit that she couldn't get, or she got it and fucked it up. And she's going to be mad at your potential latently in your age where she failed already before she met you. Because in order for her as a college grad to be a manager of a restaurant, she has to have already tried and failed, and this is the best that she could do. You just got started making changes, which means there is no limit to where you can go from here. She will forever be at that restaurant if she doesn't retire or get fired from it, right? But you will only be going back to that restaurant to pick up something to eat as a customer because you don't need to work there no more. And haters is gonna hate, and I'm like, hey, it is what it is. So when they do, I don't let them negatively impact the podcast to the best of my ability. I try to block them and send them on their way. But I mean, if they remix my show and they want to hate and give me more publicity, go ahead, hate me. Like, subscribe, share it with somebody, talk shit about me. I don't care, because if they're bold enough to say it behind my back, but they're not bold enough to say it live on a podcast, click the mic, approve the camera, and get on the show and say it live on the show, then I don't really give a fuck. I don't really care. Because like we said before, I'm genuinely authentic about everything I do. I cover the stuff that matters, and I only cover it when it negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. So everything has a themed expectation for self-improvement and financial improvement. So with that being said, ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, y'all can also learn from this information. It just requires y'all to find y'all 20 or 30-year plan, reverse engineer that situation and what you got to do today, and apply that. I strongly encourage you to keep your eyes and ears open for that potential suitor that has the drive, the ambition, the integrity, the devotion and dedication, the characteristics and personalities that is needed to aid you in your ability to be successful. If your goals and their life goals can intermingle with one another and y'all can achieve y'all's goals together, then you have a partner that will aid you and guide you and motivate you into being successful. Where we have a show coming up talking about the value of women that will motivate you to do better and be better, not the ones that belittle you because you didn't succeed enough. And I tell y'all on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it requires both of you to be financially responsible about your shit. Because if one of y'all is grinding and the other one is wasting the money, the faster the money comes in, the faster the money goes out. And it's only going to build resentment. Then y'all are going to have a fight, and then y'all going to break up, and then half of your estate is going to be separated, and now you have less than what you started with. So it's always better to find somebody with the same goals, ambitions, and drives as you do, so that y'all can make it to where y'all are trying to go. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. Extra special shout out to Steven. Special shout out to Michael. I really appreciate y'all for coming to tonight's show. Special shout out to Dylan. I know he's been grinding out lately. He hasn't been coming as much as he wanted to. But I know that he comes and checks us out after the fact. Where are we? We're walking out of this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate my My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision.